first time ever. That's not true. For the second time ever, with 6&Twenty Metropolis, with the newly assembled cast for the new game, City of Mist. And it's going to be a rad time. So let's go around and introduce our cast and crew and learn a little bit about the City of Mist. We'll start with the newest face you see. Sam, who are you? What are you doing here? And who are you playing today?
My name is Sam. Wizened Fool on Twitch, the Wizened Fool on Twitter. I honestly don't know what I'm doing here. For some reason, people just keep inviting me back to streams. I don't know why. It makes no sense to me. But, here I am. I'm playing today JPTN. Are we holding off on telling people who our mythoses are? Okay. He is a washed out professional fighter turned kids karate teacher. That's him.
Fantastic.
Are you Mr. Miyagi?
No, he's like 20 years old.
Oh.
But you love animals, so are you Mr. Miyagi?
Maybe.
We'll jump over to the Queen of Puns herself. Mr. Ninja, who are you? What are you doing here? What's that in your mouth? And who are you playing today?
I'm not playing OC anymore. We can't ask that.
Well, it's a new game, new time.
I am Xmas Ginger Ninja. Since we're holding off on all that good stuff, I am playing Flora, who is a mix of a morgue worker, a coroner, and a forensic analyst. She is that person that you call on site when you need the best advice. She's been doing this for a while.
Fantastic. And we'll jump over to Greg. Who are you? What are you doing here? Where is that hat from? And who are you playing tonight?
Greg, Grimjack21502 on the Twitches and the Twitters. This hat is from a little show called Pinky Blinders, whatever it's called. Peaky Blinders, I forget. I'm just going to show how old I am. I'm half in the bag with cold medicine, so this should be real interesting to start this off. I'm going to be playing somebody called Gephardt Caparelli. He is a former building inspector for the city, and that's all you get right now.
Sweet. Yeah, I have to ask, Greg, because unlike normal people, you don't just have clothing. You have clothing that belongs to a set of something that you've been in, and I'm like, where do you have all these things from? So I have to ask.
I'll put it up on Twitter. Do you want to I'll put my heads up on Twitter.
They always have a different story of all of your clothes. It's the best thing.
If you want me on Twitter, I'll put it up later.
He'll do it. I am playing, before we jump over to Johnny, I know I'm doing things a little out of order today, but I will be playing Malcolm K, who is a homeless kid, which you can tell by the fact that I look like I'm from Seattle right now. And he is a young, whimsical, childlike person who's here to just cause some trouble and shenanigans and hijinks. And last but not least, we'll jump over to Johnny. Who are you? What are you doing here? And what is the City of Mist?
Are you disparaging people from Seattle?
Yes, they look like homeless people. Because they're hipsters. It's a thin
Brooklyn,
line.
too.
It's a real thin
They'll
line.
work for Amazon. They're not homeless. They actually do pretty well for themselves, damn
But
it.
they look homeless. There's a thin line between homeless and hipster.
Have you been to California?
Yeah, it's the same there.
Yeah, we went to TwitchCon when you didn't.
No, I'm not just talking about, like, Long Beach. I'm talking about California.
Yeah.
It's all messed up.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm Johnny. I am the Video Store Cowboy. I run the Video Store Cowboy channel. I'm also the GM for this crazy thing we call 6&Twenty. What is City of Mist? In a nutshell, superheroes, supervillains, mythological, pop culture, and noir, all kind of rolled into one. At least that's the way we're playing it. So, it's a great new system by a game studio by called Son of Oak. It was released in, I believe, October. The PDF was. The actual physical books will be shipping, I believe, as of this week, I think is what the message that we got that said that was. It seems to be some sort of combination between Apocalypse World and Fate, so it's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Yeah, that's me.
Cool. So, guys, before we jump into things, I will invite you to check out the donation section down below. You can donate for Nat 20s, Nat 1s, all kinds of other fun stuff to incorporate this into the game, as well as hitting those followers, subscribes, and retweets down bottom there. And with that, Johnny, take us into the city.
Do we want to talk very quickly about the little differences that are between this or do we want to wait until next time to do that? Because we didn't actually talk about how donations are going to work.
Actually, I fixed all the donations to make slightly more sense for a more generic thing. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Great. So, without further ado, we shall begin in a prologue. The city in spring. The air is vibrant. It smells of green and it smells fresh. There is a cool breeze that kind of blows through as the sun is still beating down, and things appear to be growing all over the place. We go from that grand, sort of cityscape kind of picture where you catch all of the districts, right? There is the downtown district that sits at the center of everything. There is the old quarter, sort of sitting right on the coast, right next to the docks. From there, you can go inland and to see the burbs and the working class district. And if you go a little bit past the city towards the other side, you see Tinseltown and Olympus. And as we kind of focus in the lens and we come into downtown, it's we focus in and we see the hustle and bustle of city streets in downtown around lunchtime. The downtown district is chaotic. It's loud. It's brilliant. It's money and commerce and business, and people are kind of rushing in and out of different places, doing their thing. And at rush hour and at lunch. And, at night, there is always something going on. There is always a hustle and bustle. And so we kind of focus in onto a coffee shop. And we look inside and we see a setting for your average coffee shop in a downtown setting. Seated at a table in the center of this coffee shop is Gephardt. He is clearly nervous and just kind of looking around, kind of taking in the situation, kind of assessing what's going on around him. Seated behind him at a table far off in the back, enjoying something sweet, is Malcolm. Malcolm's just kind of keeping an eye on the situation and kind of watching the crowd. Gephardt, are you enjoying a drink? And if so, what?
He would probably have something to look as inconspicuous as possible, so it would probably just be a black coffee. And he would be nursing it. He would just to have something in front of him, just to have something that makes him look normal.
Okay. Is there anything else that you're doing in order to not attract attention to yourself?
His collar is up on his trench coat that he's wearing. He does not make any move to take it off or to remove his hat or to do anything to, clear his features. He keeps himself obscured in as best way as he can in a coffee shop. He keeps his head down. He's not reading anything. And while he takes a sip of wood occasionally, or takes a sip of coffee, he will occasionally pull out a block of wood and just sit there and not necessarily carve, but trace lines along it with his thumb. And if someone were to look closely enough, they would see that his thumb is actually causing grooves in the wood, and it's curling up around his nail as he's kind of nervously working the wood.
Phrasing. So, would this be something that if you were meeting somebody and they didn't know what you looked like, would that be an indication, something that somebody would share, that like if a mutual contact brought the two of you together, would that be something that would indicate who you were?
Yes. If they said, yeah, look for the weird guy sitting by himself playing with, a block of wood.
Playing with his
wood. I mean, in the city, that's a dime a dozen, but, hopefully in the coffee shop, there's only one of us. If there's two of us, I know I've got the biggest block.
Guys, that's all, folks. This has been an unMadeGaming production.
So you're kind of there, and you're shaping the wood with your finger as you're just kind of trying to not do anything that kind of attracts attention otherwise. Malcolm, in the farther back, this is something unusual for you, but you're in this place and you were here at the request of Gephardt. You're taking in the kind of the situation, and it's a normal hustle and bustle of a coffee shop, in at lunchtime. And as you're kind of looking around, you see there is the seats around, and there's the space heading towards the back, and then there's a kitchen behind the counter, and you hear a girl working behind the counter, kind of talking on the phone. Fog's Brew, how can I help you? Kind of a thing, and taking phone orders. And you hear somebody else yell for her, "Hey, Megan, we need you to get off the phone and cover the cleanup." And there's just this hustle and bustle of things going on, and so you're just kind of taking all this all in. And in walks a tall black man in a tweed suit, kind of looking the crowd around, and he kind of draws your eye for a second, and he looks at the crowd and just kind of slowly walking through, and then he notices Gephardt, takes a step around, and he offers his hand as he kind of sits down, and he says, "Are you Gephardt?"
Sit.
Are you Gephardt? Are you the man I'm supposed to see?
I am the man you're supposed to see.
My name is Gerald Walker. A mutual friend of ours sent me here. What can I do for you? She said that you were in need of some information.
I seek the murderer of my family. You are aware of this crime I am accused of?
Our mutual friend informed me of all the details. I'm not really sure how I can help my family and my foundation. We don't deal in this kind of a thing, but we do have resources, and we do have the ears of individuals. What information are you looking for right now?
I do not require the ears of individuals, Mr. Walker. I want the one or the ones that killed my family. I do not wish to clear my name. I wish to cleanse my soul. How can you help me do that?
I'm not sure. That's interesting. She didn't mention any of this. I would think that our mutual friend would be able to help. We are talking about the same young woman, always had, in front of a PDA or a computer of some kind. This is who connected you with me, is that correct?
Yes.
And he gets a little frustrated. All right. The foundation that my family started some years ago, occasionally we gain access to records as we try to help individuals. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Walker Foundation. We help the homeless. We help those with mental health. Anyone who's in need. That is our goal. That is our means. And occasionally we gain access to records that might be of service to you. Can you offer me any type of lead where I might be able to pull some information for you?
All that I know is that I did not kill my family. And I do know that the police know that as well. I cannot get to their records. They have either destroyed them or put them in a place where I cannot find them.
But see, medical records don't get easily destroyed, Mr. Gephardt.
Well, perhaps then I will be one of your helpless that you and the Walker Foundation help. Any information and whatever you require of me, I believe you know that I am capable of much more than I appear.
And that's what concerns me. I want justice for anybody that I bring into our organization. I want to help them. I want to help them make better of themselves, of their lives, and the lives of others. I will not help you on a murderous rampage, but I will give you whatever support I can, because clearly our mutual friend believes that you are worth my time. And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a card and he slides it across. Now, what was that noise? And you hear some hustle and bustle outside. And he looks, and Malcolm, if you look in the same direction that he does, you see quite a intense looking blonde woman in her 40s dressed in a suit, making her way around and kind of pushing people out of the way through the crowd. And Gerald looks, oh my God, we've got to get out of here. Here, take this and come with me quickly. And he begins to get up.
Gephardt does not get up.
I can't stress this enough. There's more trouble in the city than you're aware of. Your family aren't the only ones who have been. And he looks back. She's coming in here. I need to go. Are you sure you won't come with me?
He takes the card and puts it into his breast pocket. If this is someone that could be associated with the deaths of others, you fear her, and perhaps she knows something that you don't. And he turns his attention to the front door.
The woman walks into the door, and Gerald just immediately bolts towards the back. And she's scanning the crowd, and she's kind of in, and she looks, and she appears to be sniffing the air. And she starts to move, and she's sort of slinking in. Walks right past you. Just walking towards the back where Gerald went.
He kicks the chair that Gerald was sitting in out as if to offer her a seat as she walks by.
Looks over. Can I help you, sir? I'm a little busy right now. And she continues to move on.
He takes the card out of his breast pocket and puts it on the table and swings it around so she can read the name as he keeps his finger on it.
Yeah, that's who I'm here for. Thanks. And she begins to move towards the back as she's continuing to smell and kind of slink her way back there.
He continues to work the wood in his hands. And am I allowed to do something here,
Sure.
Johnny? I know this is a prologue, but
Go ahead.
he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out looks like a very finely carved wooden butterfly.
Okay.
And for a moment, he takes down his glasses, revealing the fact that his right eye is a very deep, very like cappuccino brown, and his left eye is a very light, almost white blue. And it seems as if there is a firelight that dances behind the left eye. And he looks at the butterfly and its wings begin to flap. And he holds it on his finger for a moment and releases it, and it flaps off towards the woman.
She moves into the back and disappears around a corner, and there are some heated arguments, like heated voices, her voice and Gerald's voice. And he appears to be agitated. What does your butterfly do? Is it just watching her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as it's watching her, how do you see it? Like, how do you sense what this thing sees?
I can't see what it's seeing. I can only sense what is occurring emotionally in the room, as if it were reading the room and the environment through non-ocular sensorial as if it were a plant, danger.
You're sensing a lot of fear coming from one side and a lot of anger coming from the other side, twins with a little bit of satisfaction.
Okay, well, Gephardt knows that this person perhaps holds a key, Walker does anyway, to helping him. And if it sounds like there's a threatening, perhaps a terminal nature to the emotions that are being played back and forth, he will make a move towards the back of the room and motion towards Malcolm as he does so.
As you begin to step up and do that, Megan, the woman behind the counter, the young woman who was behind the counter who was coming out and cleaning, immediately bumps into you, breaking your concentration for just a second, and you lose the sense of what's going on in the back with with Gerald and the woman in the back, right? So you lose the butterfly, you lose all that sense, right? And Malcolm, as you're kind of stepping up, you see this happen and kind of bump in, and then you hear screams coming from the back, and it's Gerald screaming, and the sounds that are coming from the back are monstrous. It is primal. It is animalistic. It sounds like a vicious, large cat just growling and kind of clawing. And immediately you gain a quick connection again back to the butterfly, and you feel hunger and vicious satisfaction coming from only one in the back there, as the other person is not making an emotional response anymore.
It's only coming from Walker now?
It's only coming from the woman.
Okay, Gephardt begins to walk back, and he takes the block of wood that he had been working on, and if anybody were to watch Malcolm, or it would look different to anybody else, but to Malcolm, he would see him take a block of wood, and just with a squeeze and the draw of his fingers, he produces a long shank that is about 1.5 feet long out of the wood, and he begins to walk forward, and he rounds the corner.
You go towards the back, and you round the corner into the storeroom, and what you see is the body of Walker laying across the back of the one of the sides. We were like halfway seated on the ground. It's back to the wall, and this woman has changed a little bit. She's more animalistic. She's more cat-like. There are these marks on her body that are very much like a tiger's marks. And you see that her hands are more like claws, and that her feet are just still, kind of semi-normal as they're in this, they're her shoes, but her claws are like kind of digging in, and she's kind of licking, at the blood a little bit as she kind of looks back and notices you, and gives you a really terrible grin. She kind of turns, and she begins to reach out towards you.
There is a earth-shaking rumble from the exit door to the alleyway behind the coffee shop, and the door rattles on its hinges as something slams against it. And Gephardt, without flinching away from her grasp, says, "Careful what you reach for, darling. My son will be along soon."
I'm not worried about you or your son. And she stands up. Now, you forget what you see here. And as she says that, you begin to get a little confused about the situation. And that pounding stops a little bit as you are no longer immediately feeling any sense of emotion, fear, anger, curiosity. It sort of soothes you. And so that pounding, that entity, that thing that is your son pounding on that door, slows a little bit. As you see her stand up straight, the fingers become fingers again, and they are no longer claws, and the stripes kind of fade a little bit. And she walks up to you as you're kind of just standing there taking this. She straightens your collar just a little bit and pats you on the cheek and says, "I'll see you soon." And she walks out towards the front.
I'm assuming I can't fight this with anything, right? This is just prologue.
Yes. So she has you enraptured, charmed, in a spell of some kind that you can't seem to fight. And so as she walks past you, she kind of looks you up one more time, and then just moves towards the front of the coffee shop. And Malcolm, you see her walking through, as was described in the one shot.
Mm-hmm.
She just strolls out, kind of wiping her lips a little bit, and steps out towards the front and out the door.
Are the cops pulling up yet?
You can hear the sirens.
Yeah, I guess Malcolm kind of stands like mouth agape, looking back and forth to see what happens. And then as soon as she turns to leave, he looks up and says, "Hey, Mr. G, you gotta go. You have," and he points to your collar and there's blood on it.
He shakes his head as if clearing it from a fog. Right. Okay. And he begins to move towards the door.
And at that point, Malcolm kind of walks back the opposite way towards one of the tables, and sees, like, not Megan, the other person, bringing like a croissant to somebody at the table, and he sort of bumbles his way out and bumps into a person and like causes something to go flying. And he says, "Oh no! There's something wrong with the guy!" And he starts like pointing people towards the kitchen as he is attempting to make some kind of a scene.
And so, which way do you go out, Gephardt? Do you go through the front door, or do you go through the back?
Well, and so he's not walking back out just as he comes in and says, "Hey, there's somebody in trouble in the back." He's going to walk out the back.
Okay, so you step out the door into the alley, and you hear the sirens in the distance. You're in the shadows of two, essentially sized skyscrapers around you, coming out of the back of this coffee shop. What do we see there? Anything?
Well, Gephardt will step out and he'll pull his collar higher, shielding his face a bit more, pulling his hat down just a bit lower as he looks around and stares into the deepest part of the shadows of the alleyway. And he says, "It's okay, boy. It's time for us to go home." And out of the shadows, a monstrous glove comes out for a moment, drags along the dirt of the ground and scoops up a huge heaping pile of refuse, and you see it go back into the shadows and you hear the sounds of chewing. And he walks off and the shadow seems to follow.
We cut back into the coffee shop as the distraction works and Gephardt is able to get away, but just as you're darting for the front door, following a bunch of the patrons who are running and screaming after being charmed and horrified by what sounds were coming from the back, the cop cars begin to pull up, and the cops immediately begin to come in, kind of blocking your way. And we're going to fade as Malcolm is forced to take a seat at a table with three others.
He's sitting kind of chewing on a nail as he looks out the window at a 1979 Phoenix, as he is looking for his driver, as he's trying to not get caught up in the cops.
Forgot about that. And we're going to fade to summertime. Summertime in the city. It's warmer. There's a warm wind that kind of blows through, but it brings different smells. This time it brings refuse and alcohol and nightlife, as we are in the downtown district again, standing outside of the club Xanadu. Now, Xanadu is this posh, sort of wonderful, glitzy Art Deco place with neon. It has great jazz music. Has some of the best food and drink in town. Everybody wants to get in. There's always a line out the door, and it's never really clear, how you can get past the line. But the line is always around the corner. And so we're going to fade into this, and we find Flora there. What's Flora's interest in Xanadu?
Flora is above all a people watcher. She is having a drink. She doesn't socialize. She doesn't make herself known. She's not interested in speaking to any of the men or women in there. She's just people watching, looking, at times judging, and taking it all in, as she does with most days in the city.
So as you're approaching the bouncer, a tall black man dressed in black and gold, wearing a pair of rounded rim-shade mirror glasses, wonderful smile, very much the gentleman doorman who is talking to different people and working the door and working the crowd and making sure that everything is settled. As you're getting closer, you notice that he's wearing this thin gold chain around his neck, and there's this emblem at the end of it that first looks like a cross, but is actually a representation of a sword. And as you're walking up, he takes notice of you and he says, "You can go in. I like you." And you hear, big, kind of from the crowd is, what do you have? Kind of was the reaction that they're having. But so with that, as you begin to kind of enter into the club, you hear the bouncer or the doorman kind of say, "Be careful in there. It's a little rough tonight."
Nothing a girl can't handle.
And as you step in, the club is huge. It's, multi-level. It's got great jazz music in a corner from what looks like a risen stage, and it's really set up like a bandstand. And right now it's, sort of 30s big band music and jazz kind of all at the same time, but the entire crowd appears to be in it. Towards the back, there's the bar, and there are various seats and tables just sort of all around you. What's your pleasure here? How do you enter and approach this?
She'll walk in. She does have what looks like it's been around for, since the early, 1900s bag where she keeps some of her trinkets, odds and ends and things. And she just puts it up and over and pushes her way gently through the crowd, almost as it parts in front of her. And she'll go up, she'll grab a drink, and she'll find one of the higher tables or booths so that she can see everything.
As you're kind of sitting in and observing the crowd, you see a couple of things that really kind of strike your interest. The first is there is a man dressed in sort of this whitish silver outfit. Short cropped hair, beard, mostly white with a little bit of gray in it. He's wearing a brooch of some kind on his left lapel, and it's in the shape of a spearhead. And you can kind of see it in the glint, but he's always looking away from you, as he's kind of working the crowd. But you notice him because he stands out, because he appears to be working the crowd. And as he kind of turns back to you, you can see that he has a patch over his left eye, and appears to be carrying a cane, or using a cane, but really as an affectation, not really in need of a medical need of it. And he's kind of working the crowd and kind of moving around. And across from you, in a sort of a VIP area, off to the other side of the room, you see a small gathering, a party, and most of the people there you don't really recognize. But they're all being treated as VIPs, celebrities, that kind of a thing, except for one, and that one that you recognize over there is Megan Dare. And Megan Dare happens to be one of the Dare sisters who actually is a very famous group of sisters who own a business that manufactures food and drink, thus providing kind of doing the whole start having a business and being just very much sisters and women and that kind of very empowering kind of a thing. They're known for doing some phenomenal charity work, though, and they've been known to partnership with the Walker Foundation. And so there appears to be, they're having a good time, and and she's being really the party kind of girl at 20 something, not in a really negative kind of way, but she's just really enjoying herself and just kind of walking through and talking to people in there. She's really working that little crowd in there. And then a bartender comes up, or a waiter comes up and says, "Can I get you something in particular?"
She just shakes her head and continues to watch her with interest.
Okay. Typically, for a booth, you need to order a drink. Are you sure?
Top shelf bottle, no glass.
Anything in particular? Any particular spirit that you're looking for?
She's just going to shake her head again.
Okay, I'll bring bartender's choice then. And he kind of moves off. As you can see, the individual, the older gentleman in the silver and white, or the silverish white outfit, is working the way towards you and towards in the room. And you can see that he really is checking in and kind of engaging every single table. He's talking to all the patrons, and it's very. You get the impression that he at least works for this particular business, if not owns it, based on the way he's and the interactions that he's having with that. But it's as he's making his way towards the table to you that that there's a little bit of a commotion going on across the way at the VIP section. It appears that Megan is having an argument with somebody, a man in a suit who appears to be attempting to agitate her verbally, like they're having some sort of a verbal spat. This is somebody who wasn't there the last time that you looked.
Okay. When he comes back, she's pulled a glass from her purse. And once he turns around to leave, you will see her spit in her hand and wipe the inside of the glass, pour her glass for herself, and sit and watch, see if it escalates.
Well, as you're finishing doing that, the older man in silver, or the silverish white suit, kind of steps into your view. That's an interesting way to enjoy a drink. Where did you learn that?
May I help you?
Yeah. I own the place, so it's my prerogative to talk to everybody. Answer my question.
I'm an odd girl.
Clearly. And don't mind me saying so. He kind of looks you up and down. You get the feeling that he's really kind of seeing you. You look good for your age.
I'll try to take that as a compliment.
Oh, I mean it, dear. It's totally a compliment. Everything's a compliment here in Xanadu. We always have a good time. So what brings you...
Except for them.
And he looks over. Where are you pointing?
The people that are arguing. Him being aggressive with her.
He sighs. That is a problem. And he looks over and he waves one of the waiters down, and he whispers into his ear and takes off over to... That waiter takes off over to the other side of the room. I'm going to have to excuse myself in just a minute to do a deal with that. But what brings you here? We've not seen you here before.
I don't get out much. Work. I work odd hours. And I work odd jobs.
I imagine that makes for one hell of a social life.
This is it. You're looking at it.
Clearly. Well, with that, enjoy yourself. First drinks are on the house, since this is the first time I've ever seen you here. I hope you you have a good time. Don't forget. And he pauses for a second, and you're like, he kind of pauses and just what was that? I'm sorry, what was I saying? Oh, okay. And he just turns. And you just kind of play it off as absent-minded, but there was something else that was really odd about that. And you caught like his physical mannerisms as there was something different. And as you've been in here, you've noticed a couple other things too. The people in here seem to have interesting and different ways of doing things. The mannerisms, their actions, the way that they dance, none of it seems normal to you. It seems
Intrinsic.
Yeah, intrinsic's a good word. Mythological is another. And so you watch as Mr. Gallows moves away from you across the room. And you see that the woman clearly getting agitated. Megan is really frustrated as Mr. Gallows steps up. She runs out the front door. And the man is clearly chasing her, and Mr. Gallows is just trying to stop them, and he's trying to calm things down, but she's clearly agitated, and she's gone.
She's going to pour the rest of her drink, leave the bottle on the table with a card, and then almost floating, walk out.
So by the time you get outside, you see that the bouncer is no longer there as well, and appears to be following the two of them as they go down the street. And that there's a little bit of a commotion as the bouncer has left. But otherwise, the crowd is just kind of agitated and doing their thing. And Mr. Gallows kind of steps his head out the door. Hey, Peter, and he points to somebody else. I need you to and that person steps up to take over for the bouncer.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna walk along behind the bouncer to catch up to them at a slow pace.
Okay, and we're gonna cut to JP. You're wandering around downtown at night, kind of taking a nice casual walk. Where are you headed to?
What day is it? Is it like a weekend?
We'll call it a weeknight. It's a bit vague, but we'll call it a weeknight.
Yeah, so he probably like finished up work pretty recently. Like he had to like sweep out the dojo and everything. So he's probably just like kind of walking a little aimlessly, like just kind of killing time on his way home from work. He's probably got a gi kind of like this, but he's like got it like left open and a gym bag on his back. And yeah, I think he's going home, but he's taking his time about it. He's enjoying the walk.
Okay. And so as you're making your way, just kind of casually strolling and taking in the night air, you hear a bit of commotion down an alleyway. And this is a part of town that you necessarily haven't really, spent up too much time in. And you see that there's a club right around the corner that's all lit up and with neon and stuff. And this is sort of the back alley of it. And as you were kind of walking through, kind of looking off to down the alley, you see a man and a woman arguing next to a car. And it's clear that it's getting incredibly heated.
Like dangerous heated?
No, but she is definitely pointing at him and kind of pushing on him, and he's just kind of being stern. But you can get a vague sense that there's nothing threatening about it right now, but there's clearly something going on.
Okay. if I have to pass by them on my way home, I'm probably. I think that his curiosity maybe gets a little bit of the better of him here.
Okay.
And so he's trying to be like a little bit subtle about it, but he's also like just trying to like kind of eavesdrop a little bit. He's gonna definitely like make it look like he's just casually, strolling by, but he definitely kind of is wanting to listen in on what's going on.
Okay, so as you're kind of turning into the alley around the corner, this woman, what do you look like, Flora? You want to describe yourself for JP?
So it's nighttime, right? Because it matters.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So she has long down to probably about, her butt. She has her hair in a bun, a really tight, neat bun. But when she goes out social occasions, she'll pull it down. And she's extremely pale. She is dressed in a nice black dress, but it's not revealing. It's not, it's indicative of like a Victorian style long dress. And you just see her walking with this hideous little bag on her hip. And she just kind of walks like without a care in the world, just taking everything in and looking around with bright red lips.
So you, as you're entering that alley and you notice that she's coming your direction, do you continue to kind of slyly kind of make your way in to kind of hear the conversation going on?
Yeah, I'm trying to make it look as much like I like have somewhere that I need to go, and this alley is like the way that I need to go.
Okay.
So like
Are
basically,
we near each other?
You're coming back. You're coming up to him, and you're following the commotion as it's going back.
Okay.
And he's already there. Like you know that you have some sense of that they went into the alley, but he's already like. JP is already kind of moving that direction.
So this is definitely that moment where he's like, "Oh shit, somebody caught me," but like it's too late for him to just like turn around and walk out of the alley without like making it look even more like he was eavesdropping. Okay. I think he looks like a little bit chagrined, but he's gonna keep walking.
Okay, so as you get kind of closer, you begin to hear a little bit of their argument. It's clear that the woman is incredibly upset and she doesn't agree with what's going on. She does not want to go with him. And he's trying to convince her, your sisters are going to be there. You need to come. You need to do this. And she's just, no, I'm not doing this. This is not my thing. And she starts to walk away and he kind of grabs onto her a little bit and kind of spins her.
So he forcefully touches her.
He doesn't do it in a way that's like hurting her, but he's definitely restraining her.
Okay. Flora has her drink in hand.
You're still around the corner. He's the only one that actually sees it right now. Okay. So
yeah, if I see that, I think JP lets his kind of his like need to be the good guy get the best of him a little bit. And he's like, hey, I know it's none of my business, but maybe you should just let the lady go.
And as the guy is holding on to her and just trying to talk to her, he looks up and you get this intense look, and it's this sort of intense death stare kind of a thing. And it kind of shakes you for a second because the guy's face is incredibly just, it's like an angry facade, and it's almost ashen a little bit when he looks at you, and his eyes kind of glow a little bit red as he does this. And he says, "Go away." And he turns back to her.
Oh, well, last time I checked, this is a public alleyway. I just gotta get through here. I mean, I'm just saying you shouldn't try to make people do what they don't want.
And the other side of the car door the other car door on the car opens, and out steps another individual who looks remarkably similar to the first. And he begins to move around to the back of the car. just staring at you, and you get the same intense sort of red glare and angry stare looking at you.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep walking forward.
Well, this guy comes up to meet you and says, "You need to leave right now."
Okay. So like as he like comes up and almost gets in my face, I basically take like what looks like a little skip and a hop. But instead of like hopping, I jump like many feet in the air, and I'm just going to try to jump right over this guy.
Okay, so this sounds like a move time. This sounds like the first move of the game or the first roll of the game.
Sure.
So what do you think that is in respect to getting around this
guy? Maybe take a risk or face danger.
Well, so he's threatening you, but he's not physical with you right now. So facing danger would be you taking damage of some kind, right?
Let me double check here. Oh, I think maybe then go toe-to-toe because I'm using my abilities to overcome him. And in this case, overcoming is literally just getting past him.
Okay. So you're going to go toe-to-toe with him. All right. What really applies here? What power tags really apply here?
So I have high-flying leaps and supernatural strength.
How does supernatural strength apply here? Is it just assisting in your jump?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm just sort of thinking like, in comic books and stuff, the folks that are, he has super ridiculously strong legs.
Okay.
I don't think acrobatics really helps me here because I'm not like doing anything fancy. I'm literally just trying to jump over the guy.
Yeah, isn't acrobatics all about tumbling and jumping?
Yeah, sure. I'll take acrobatics instead of supernatural strength if you think that's more appropriate.
Well, I think the argument applies that both of them really do apply. So I think you get 3 power tags here. But what about your weakness tags?
So my weakness tags are, I'm being very impulsive, I would say.
Okay.
I think that's probably the only one that applies.
All right. Well, so then that's that. What that means is that you're going to take 3 - 1, so you're going to be 2 plus 2 power to your roll.
All right. Let's see how it goes. Nope.
So this is one of those cases where I get to do what's called a hard move. And a hard move allows me to do a number of things, right? So in this particular case, as you do your hop, skip, and the jump over, as somebody said that in chat, right? You just you leap over him. You feel the hand kind of reach up and grab you by your ankle and swing you back down to the ground and sending you tumbling back towards the entrance of the alley. Not hurting you, you're not taking any type of status, but just enough to kind of catch you off guard for a second as Flora kind of wanders around. Or kind of steps around that corner, and you kind of end up at her feet. And Flora, what you see is this situation. There is this one individual in a suit kind of looking your direction, ashen face, slightly glowing red eyes, and another who is arguing with the woman and beginning to coerce her into the car.
So she's going to walk up. He's holding on to JP, the gentleman.
No, he's not holding on to JP. JP was grabbed out of the air as he was trying to jump, and it kind of swung him around and kind of sent him tumbling a little bit back towards you and at the foot of the entranceway of the alley. So You're about 30 feet from the first guy and probably 40 feet from the couple.
She's going to keep walking close enough. I believe this woman would like to go home now without your assistance.
That's none of your business, woman. You need to leave.
She's just going to smile and throw her drink on him, which is rotting touch because she's spitting it. And it's going to necrotize his flesh.
Okay.
If that's a word.
Except that.
It's a word and gross.
So, let's roll this. What is that? Is that a change the game?
Let's see.
Talk about the moves. So, you're trying to give him some sort of status, right? Or are you trying to cause him actual damage?
I'm trying to get him to leave of his own accord. He said no, and so she's trying to, I guess, change the game.
But if you're doing this and you're trying to affect him with some sort of
I think it sounds like a hit in your gut.
yeah, it really does sound like you're trying to really damage him. So I think hit him with all you got is what I would go with as well.
Okay.
And so rotting touch is one.
Rotting
What else do you
touch.
think
Dead of
applies?
the night.
Okay,
More
yes, it is.
effective at night.
Absolutely. Anything else that seems to apply?
Provide cover for others, I would argue.
How are you providing cover?
I guess it's more of a distraction than anything. For this girl to maybe leave. I'm not trying to kill these guys. I'm not trying to like seriously injure them. I'm just trying to get them to leave her alone.
Right.
So if I can get them both to drop their guard, she can leave. Is her ultimate goal.
The other guy isn't, or the other individual in the suit is not at all interested in you whatsoever. The one that's in front of you is what's his entire focus is on you. So,
so I would say those two.
Okay. What about your weaknesses? Do you think anything applies?
No. Hallowed grounds, corpse-like visage, ragdoll, all alone. I'm not.
Nope. You're not alone.
Loss of innocence. That's nothing to do with this.
Nope. Okay. So go ahead and roll it.
Okay. So I'm just rolling 2d6.
Sure. +2. Okay, so on a 7 to 9, you get to choose one of the following. You can take cover or secure a superior position. You can get them good or get many of them. So whatever damage you do to him with this rotting touch it'll increase the status. You can hold his attention. Or you can gain the upper hand, which means you get a juice, which provides you with in this particular case, it'll be a +1 power to your next roll, whatever it is.
Okay. I'm trying to think this.
First time through this stuff. We did this when we were doing blades too, right? So it's like we're still exploring the system and trying to figure it out. So
I guess the upper hand would make sense, right?
If you right now you hit the guy for one status effect, right? So like alcohol and eyes 1, right? Or distracted 1.
No,
if you put it up a
it's
tier,
not as simple as that.
What's that?
It's not as simple as that because she's got the power tag rotting touch. Mm-hmm. And the way that she described it is it's almost it applies some sort of necrotic, rotting.
Right. But it's you've done a tier 1 damage to him, so you can upgrade it to a tier 2 damage with one of your abilities, because its damage is equal to your power tag, and it's only you have 2 power tags. I'm sorry,
2 power tags, so it's tier 2, and so if she takes the get them good, she can get the +3. She can get out of third.
And what does +3 do?
So So this is actually a great time to talk about status tags a little bit. So status tags are things that players and NPCs can take, and these tags affect it's basically like taking damage in way, but it's more of sort of a verbal description or a narrative description. Typically, players can take statuses from 1 to 6, and at 6 they get incapacitated. Typical NPCs are 3 to 4, so you inflicting a status 3 on him might take him out, or it might have him hurt really bad.
Alternatively, one of the other options is you control the collateral damage, which means you splash your drink on him, not on JP, and on the other guy also.
That'd be good.
Yeah, if I could do that, at least not hit JP. And
Does not well. So okay. So here's the thing, right? Here's the scene as I described it, guys.
he's not near him.
Oh, right. Sorry.
He walked up to me.
Yeah, I got thrown.
Yeah, JP got thrown. Flora walked up to him. The guy that she is currently dealing with is still 10 feet away from the other woman.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So there is a little bit of a placement issue in respect to that. Collateral damage still does not mean. So it could still mean something in this particular case, affecting both of them. It's just you really kind of need to figure out what makes most sense for the effect that you're going for here. right?
Okay.
And again, this is like
I'm
is
looking
the
to
first
get
time-
both of the guys' attention on me so that she can leave. Because
Okay.
she can take it, in her opinion. She can handle herself. And
Who
clearly
can
this
handle-
woman cannot. Flora thinks that she can handle herself, and this girl's already in a car being pushed around by one dude.
She's being definitely coerced into the car, yes, but she's not being forced as of yet, right? She's being talked to into this situation, and so as you do that, we need to figure out what that effect is, though. What is it? What do you think would grab the attention of both of these individuals?
Once she throws it on him, she would walk up to him and take her glove off. She has fine lace gloves up her arms that look like they have some type of metallic, like woven into the lace.
Mm-hmm.
And she pulls her glove off and gently caresses his face as there's more necrotic damage. I'm trying to get the attention while looking at the guy in the car. That's kind of what I'm trying to do, is pull the other guy out of the car.
Well, okay, so again,
So would that be take the upper hand for now?
So let me describe the situation again. You're standing in front, or you're standing throwing something onto this one individual who's basically standing stalwart in front of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You walked up to him. 10 feet behind that is the other two, and they are next to the car. The car door is open, and she's being coerced into the car.
Yep.
So
I'll push for effect then, because maybe it'll change the guy's mind about putting her in the car.
Okay, so you put the status 3 effect on him, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what would you describe the rotting touch to be like if it was to really be really gross and have some debilitating effect? So we need a narrative description for what that actually means.
So have you ever been so sick that you shake and you can't stop being cold, and it's through your whole body, and no matter what you do, you can't stop shaking, and you feel it, like you feel sick to your stomach? That feeling is what it feels like when you get any of this necrotic material on you. And it starts to eat away. It doesn't spread, but it starts to burrow into your skin. And until you start to either do what I want and I can relieve it, or it'll eat through your skin. So it's not going to kill him, but it's literally burning through to the other side of his arm right now, the longer he waits.
Okay, well, so what I'm looking for is a description of what that is at tier level of intensity. That's how status tags kind of work.
It's debilitating in the fact that you can't think or do it. It's when you're sick like that. You can't think about anything else. You can't function. Your motor function's shut down. It's like the highest amount of pain with the lowest amount of
Burning
radius.
Flesh 3.
Burning Flesh 3 works.
So yeah, it's not going to kill you, but it's definitely going to shut you down for a while mentally.
I think like the moment that JP sees this happening, he realizes that this whole situation has escalated way beyond anything he expected.
Right.
And he's just like, oh, holy shit.
So it looks kind of like you threw a vial of acid on his face as opposed to vodka or something.
Yep.
So as it kind of goes on him and he starts to react to it, you get this weird smell coming from the you're used to this, you're used to doing this, right? You've used this before, and so you're used to the smell of what flesh smells like when it burns, right? When this is
Especially
happening.
through her job. Yeah.
Absolutely. This doesn't smell like that. It smells very different. And so the effect appears to be happening on this particular person, but the smell is there's a little bit more iron to that smell. It's more metallic in its burning, kind of like wafting up, up to you, and you're just as the thing just kind of begins to shrink a little bit and look up at you, and the eyes grow even redder as it kind of reaches out and pushes you back hard to do this, almost as if they're like a last ditch effort. So he's going to try this thing is going to try to throw you back as you're doing this. So you can either face danger or go toe-to-toe in this particular case. So those are your two moves that you can really kind of do right now.
And the difference is face danger is how you avoid damage, and go toe-to-toe is you take damage but also can attack him back.
Yeah, I want to go toe-to-toe, and I like to think that, if I can describe it,
Sure.
as she gets thrown back, she contorts her body on purpose, so it hits her face, and she gets that skid of, like, her entire layers of skin start coming off as she skids on the ground.
Gross.
And when she stands up and turns around, she wipes her face so it's worse, and you just see it start to crack, and pieces of skin start to fall off as it starts to heal slowly.
Okay, well, so hold on a second. But going toe-to-toe, that sounds like, okay, so going toe-to-toe means that you actually do something to him at the same time that you're doing that. So that's the effect of what happens when he pushes you. What are you doing to him as he's going like this and just kind of pushing you?
She'll hold his arm as he pushes her and like take the whole other arm with her of necrotic damage. Like as he's pushing her, she's just, oh, okay.
Okay, so go ahead and roll it. And so you're going to roll toe-to-toe, or you're essentially going to roll 2d6 again. What power tags do you believe, or you apply to this?
So it's going to be the Rotting Touch and Dead of Night again. It's the same, she's doing the same move. And I would say impervious to mortal weapons, or like physical harm. It's the same general.
Impervious. Well, you said mortal weapons as a power attack. I think impervious to physical harm was probably what we should go with.
Yeah.
As you know, to update your tag. But yes, so you can do that as well and take that as a third tag. So go ahead and roll 2d6 plus 3. Okay. Going toe to toe, 7 and 9. You can choose one of the following. You manage to achieve your goal, which means you take hold of him and bring him along with you, kind of getting essentially causing his arm to kind of rot more, and also kind of dragging him in with momentum wise. You can give it to him good. He already has a status 3 of burning flesh, and you can do that again plus 1, which would give him a status of 4, because otherwise it'll just continue to add up to status 3, and we'll talk about that later. But the short is, if you hit him as he is right now, it's not clear whether, or actually it might, but I'll get to that in just a second. You increase the damage that you want, so you can do that. You can take him with you, or you can block or counter this attempt completely and not do any damage to him.
No, she'll go with it and just do more damage to him.
Okay. So describe to me what it's like when you're grabbing him and kind of pulling him with you. And then
she doesn't actually physically. Yeah, she doesn't grapple with him. It's just for the effect of touching his arm. She completely lets.
What I'm looking for is what does it look like as you're touching him, as you're providing this kind of damage to him, and your hands are running across his arm. What does his arm look like as it gets worse?
Well, it starts off looking like it's Play-Doh, like when you see a hand go into Play-Doh and it squishes in a little bit, and then it starts, as she pulls the skin off, it starts to look like when you put your arm on a grill and just leave it there, and once you pull it off. Except instead of it being branded and being, that hardened material, it's just starting to sink into his arm a little bit and cave in like an acid burn.
Excuse me a second. I need my puke bucket.
It's going to get way worse, guys.
Yeah, I think this is that's basically like JP's reaction is he's just like, wait a minute. Why am I on the side of this girl right now?
Just so chat knows, we're good guys.
Listen.
Yeah, that was. So it's going to get worse though, JP, because she gets thrown back as she's doing this, and as she's doing this, and this kind of happens, and eventually his arm just kind of sags away completely as the rot continues across him, as it's slowly kind of doing its thing, and she gets thrown back and ends up on the ground exactly as she described. And so JP, you're kind of like rushing to help her a little bit, because that's and then you find her in this physical state. And describe your face again, Laura.
It's like when you go face first into gravel off a motorcycle and you lose all the skin on your face, but it's slowly starting to, because it's not a mortal wound, it's not a like separated tendons or anything.
Sure.
I have the ragdoll ability. It literally just starts regenerating a little bit, and she just kind of wipes off the skin as it grows more under it. So she's just kind of like brushing pebbles off her face and like skin and stuff, and it's just growing back. And she would just look over to JP. You're welcome to help at any time. Those are sounds.
I mean, is there anything like this guy's complete? Is this guy like still on his feet?
Well,
She's pointing at the girl.
Well, the first guy is continuing to kind of melt and do his thing. Like he's just kind of dissolving, and it's just you watch as the physical form kind of slumps down to its knees and then just kind of leans over as it continues to rot. Thus incapacitating, taking him out. But as this is happening, the guy that was coercing the woman to get into the car looks at the situation, assesses it, and says, "This we can't do this," and pushes her into the car, jumps in, and slams the door, and the car starts.
Okay, I'm going to look at Flora and just be like, "Oh, I really hope I don't regret this." And then I'm just going to try to basically smash on the back of the car and just like basically blow out the axle.
Okay.
We're the
great.
fucking A-team right now.
A-team? I don't know about that.
Some version, a little bit younger. Some of us.
All right. So what is that? Is that a change the game?
Yeah, I think I want to add a tag to this car.
Oh, I think that's definitely gonna happen. But let's start with that. So change the game. What power tags apply here?
So I definitely think supernatural strength.
Okay.
I think I have a striking tag that goes in with my martial arts training.
So what does the striking tag describe to you? Because if it's associated with your martial art, how does it apply in brute force here?
Yeah. So the martial art that JP practices is probably like a little bit it's a little bit different, but I think the most similar martial art would be something like Kyokushin karate. And so he's basically doing the same thing he would do if he was breaking bricks.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. So that's two. Is there a third one that you want to apply?
So I do have a body like a mountain, which is normally a defensive tag, but I think it may apply like here.
Okay. And I'm gonna throw in the impulsive tag as a weakness.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's 3 minus 1, so it's 2.
Cool. And we are changing the game. Yeah. There we go.
Wow. Great success. Good job. So that means you get 2 juice, 1 for 1, right? Power tags.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Spend your juice 1 for 1. You gain 2 juice. So you get 2 of those tags. What do you want to do?
So since I'm doing power 3, I'm going to inflict a tier 2 tag because it's tier -1 of broken axle. And I'm going to make it a prolonged effect.
Okay. So that seems pretty incapacitating for the car for tier 2, right?
Okay.
A broken axle. So how about instead we bring it down to you
pop a tire.
Yeah, that's what maybe
I was going to say
tire.
Pop both tires.
Tire, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like the slam came down, the axle is definitely damaged, or maybe it's the axle is damaged, and because it's a prolonged effect, the car can't accelerate as quickly because the wheels are kind of like this. So as it's trying to go off, like it's only the edges of the tires are on the surface, so it's not really getting any traction to get going quickly. So describe what that looks like, though.
Yeah. So JP basically rushes because he's basically floors between him and the car because he got tossed. So he basically rushes towards the car and punches down on the back bumper, or not the bumper, but the like where the trunk would be. And I think it definitely leaves a very visible dent where he punched into it. And the whole car just kind of groans and like sags down.
Okay. So that sagging down as the accelerator begins to because the car is on, the accelerator begins to, and the tires are kind of spinning and they're making smoke, but the car is kind of moving slowly forward. But it is starting to gain a little bit of momentum as that's happening. So you can do any number of things here. And for Flora, he's just changed the situation so that the car is having difficulty getting going. Both of you have the option here to do something. So what are you going to do?
I'm going to stand in front of the car.
You're definitely not going to get in front of it before, unless you want to, do another change the game or do something else, face danger. It's going to involve a roll of some kind.
Okay, I'll do face danger. Yeah, I just want to stand in front. Do you have an idea, JP? I can let you know.
Yeah, while this is happening, so I don't know if there's like an aid move in this game. I haven't seen, but basically what I'm imagining is JP just like grabs the back of the car and tries to like hold on, like fight the accelerator, essentially. And this whole time he's doing this, he's just looking at Flora and just going, "I really hope you know what you're doing."
And you're holding on to the car now?
Yeah. I'm basically.
If he's holding on to it, I'm gonna walk around and open the passenger door to let her out, like gingerly. Just.
Well, hold on a second, guys.
Change the game though.
No, hold on 1 second. If you did that slam and then you're grabbing onto the car to hold on to it now, are you rolling that? Or are you just grabbing on with?
I'm very specifically trying to make it so this car cannot accelerate. So I think there's probably a roll there.
Yeah. So again, that sounds like another change the game.
Cool.
Or maybe go toe to toe with the car.
Yeah, I'd take either, whichever one you think is more appropriate.
Well, I'm going to leave it up to you because I think both are appropriate. Or even potentially take a risk because it says when you perform a daring, risky, or outright stupid feat.
Yeah, let's go with that. I think the two that fit here are Body Like a Mountain and Supernatural Strength, and then maybe Will of Iron.
Okay. So yeah, that works. So that means you've got 2 power tags there.
Cool.
All right, and so go ahead and roll it.
Let's find out what happens. Yeah. Great success.
Sorry, my machine freezer the first. All right.
Yeah, no worries.
Great success. So you do it, and you're grabbing on. And describe what it's like when you dig your feet in and just kind of hold on to this car as it's kind of spinning and trying to get going.
Yeah. So I think like it starts moving at first, and like JP's like skidding because he can't really like quite get traction. And then he really like digs his feet in the ground and just causes these 2 huge grooves to like start to generate in the ground. And once he's basically created enough leverage into the ground, he is basically just like straining, and we can like see it. This is like even probably kind of difficult for somebody with his level of strength. And he's just like, ugh.
Right. Okay. And so you see him doing this, Flora, giving you an opportunity to do what?
She's going to try to walk around and let the girl out. She doesn't want to hurt this other guy. She just wants the girl to be safe. So does that change the game?
You can walk around and open the door if you want. Because clearly the situation is giving you the opportunity to do that without there actually being he's holding it there, right?
Yeah.
And so
she's going to put her glove back on and then open the door. Ma'am, you're free to leave.
Okay, so as you're kind of walking up, the driver turns the wheel sort of to the side so that the tires start to kind of shift a little bit as it's kind of doing its thing, and the car is slowly creeping towards you as you open the door. And she kind of looks up at you. And what are you doing?
You're free to leave. Now is your chance. You get one.
She steps out and why are you even doing this? Why are you out here? Why are you helping me? As you can see that the guy's like turning off the car and he's starting to get out.
I thought you knew what you were doing, creepy lady.
She looks over to the girl. Because I don't like people making decisions for others.
This is a little bit more complicated than that. I appreciate you doing this. And she starts to around, but you don't know what you're getting involved in. As the guy comes around towards the other side. Glowing red eyes. Really intense.
She'll just point for her to leave.
Woman kind of looks back and kind of staring at the situation. I don't think you want to mess with him.
I would leave now.
And he comes up and pushes you back. And pushes you harder this time. The last time you got this push, this was something that was just like, you know, a gentle push in comparison to this. I mean, this guy slams you hard with everything. And when you get hit by this, it hurts.
Okay. So she's going to face danger. I guess endure the harm. And then try to, I guess, just endure it and then react after. Okay.
All right. So you're going to, wait a minute. Say that again. You're going to face danger, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and roll it. And it sounds like you had 2 power tags that applied.
Yes. That's correct.
Okay. So on a 7 to 9, you take a status, but with a negative tier, with a -1 tier status. So as he pushes you, you get.
I was saying goodnight to Grant. Stop making this weird.
Well, it's like it's distracting, man. We're right in the middle of some action here. He pushes you back, and instead of getting completely kind of like pushed all the way back, you take a status 1 of stunned, and he just kind of does this thing, and you just kind of skid back a little bit, but you take it. Right, you kind of absorb it as it goes. JP, you just noticed that this guy just came up and just went. Psh.
Yeah. So I want to do potentially 2 things, but it might just be rolled into one. So JP is now at the point where he just wants some answers because he's realizing that this is not what he expected. So I think he's going to pluck out one of his hairs and try to make a clone of himself. And then as the clone distracts the guy who's messing with Flora, he's going to just try to grab her and jump and just get as far away from these people as he possibly can so he can get some damn answers.
So distraction.
So that's a change the game? Or, I mean, I'm trying to figure out, because making a clone of yourself is a distraction, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so the clone is supposed to distract this guy while I grab Flora and get the hell out. So probably change the game or maybe face danger because I'm getting in the way of this guy.
But you're getting in the way of this guy by creating a clone, right?
Yeah, I would say that the clone is like a change the game. It's a story tag.
Yeah.
Sure. So I do have a power tag which lets me do that. I'm not just making it up.
No, I'm not. I mean, no, I totally
It'd be
get
great if you were, though, and we're like, you can't just do that.
I can't just. It's a role-playing game. I can do anything.
Tell me you can't just clone yourself? It's a normal thing. Every game has that function.
Beanstalk. Away.
Yeah, so I guess change the game, but I'm not really sure what tag I want. The main intent here is to escape with Flora.
I still think change the game makes most sense here.
Okay,
right?
sure.
So
I will definitely be using clones from Strand of Hair. I think probably High Flying Leaps applies, and probably Trickery and Pranks.
okay.
I don't know that any of the weaknesses. Maybe this is still pretty impulsive, but it's your call.
It is impulsive, but it's also something I think. I mean, how? Okay, so has JP done this before? Is this something that JP has executed on, or is this something that just he came up with at that moment?
No. He's aware of this power. It ties into one of his mysteries.
Okay.
So I'll just roll with the 3.
I think you should roll with the 3 then, because it doesn't sound impulsive to me if it's a part of his natural ability, right?
Yep. Oh my gosh, I'm rolling really good now.
Yeah, no shit. All right. So with a power tag or power of 3, you get 3 things you can do at effect here, right?
Mm-hmm. So I think probably create new objects or beings with one tag of your choice. So I'm creating the clone with the tag distracting.
Okay.
And so the other would for any other improvement you and the MC agree upon, could it be something to do with like getting away from these guys, like something to do with escaping, or do you think that's pushing it a little bit?
Well, so I mean, but what do you mean by something that has maybe something with escaping? So
right, so like an improvement like fleeing the scene, something like that.
And so you're fleeing the scene with Flora?
With Flora. I'm trying to grab Flora and just jump the hell out of there.
You do prolong the effect. So
that could work.
Yeah. So that's absolutely the second thing that you can do.
So I will point out that because this is an old character sheet on Roll20 and hasn't been updated when the book came out, there's a new function called Dynamite, which if you roll Dynamite, which is higher than 12, you get an additional 2 juice on top of whatever juice you would have normally gotten, which is stupid amounts of juice that you have for this ability.
Okay. So I want to extend the effect. I want to scale up the effect and make it multiple clones.
Oh, okay. So how many clones are we talking about here?
I think it's a group of 3 JPs now, including him, so a total of 4 people.
Do they go away?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I gotta jump to the end here. Do they die? Do they vanish? Like, what happens?
Look, my mystery is how can I be sure I'm not the clone?
No.
So I scale up the effect, and then I think the other improvement. So then I have two more juice. Wow. Oh wait, no, I extended, so I have 1 more. So I would think the other improvement would be like I don't know. Is fleeing the scene an acceptable tag? Do you think?
An acceptable tag. I think it's.
Or like, could I take that juice forward to the actual escape?
Okay, well, so let me figure out what your ultimate intent here is. Your ultimate intent to save Flora, or is your ultimate intent to save Flora and the other woman?
My ultimate intent is to grab Flora and get out, because I just want answers. It seems clear to me that this woman is not like that into us saving her, doing the heroics thing, and I'm like super confused as to what the hell is going on. Flora specifically asked me to help, and I naively thought that meant that I should.
Right. Okay. All right. So, yes, you with the other 2 juice, you can totally just make it happen. We'll call it a prolonged effect, and you are able to use that to do exactly what in escape. How do you escape once you grab her?
I pick her up and I jump, and I'm gonna go roofborne.
Okay. So when you do that, is there anything that physically changes about you? Is there something about the effect that changes, your physical shape, or does it look unnatural or weird or what have you?
I think it looks very bizarre in the fact that this person is jumping incredibly high.
Okay.
I don't think that there's a hugely noticeable physical change. outside of the fact that there are a bunch of clones of JP now like running around this guy trying to distract him.
Okay.
But I do think that I leave big divots in the ground from where I like plant and jump.
Okay. And so you do that, and you land. You jump really high with Flora, and you land on top of the on top of Xanadu, which is like a 3-story tall structure. Building this corner sort of club structure. And you're landing on top of it, and you kind of you land. And you put her down, and you look back, and what you see kind of weirds you out a little bit, because the woman kind of steps up to the 3 clones of you and pushes them back, like one after the other. She grabs and just pushes, and she steps up to the man and that just pushed Flora, and she kind of picks him up and sets him walking back towards the direction as she heads back towards the club.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, my bad. I put Flora down, and I'm like trying to talk quietly, but obviously we're 3 stories up, so it doesn't matter. It's just JP being JP, and he's just like, what the hell was that? What's going on? What?
Quite a reluctant savee, I would say. How ungrateful of these humans. And she's just looking around the street to see where this woman went and just kind of watching.
I assumed you knew them.
No. I had the same intent as you when you followed them.
I was just trying to hear what they were saying. Oh my god. Oh god, what?
He's fine. He has 3rd-degree burns. He'll live. Worse than that. He'll live. He wasn't human. Did you notice that?
I mean, the glowing red eyes were a tip. I don't think you're human. You melted that guy.
It was a nice jump.
Oh, thank you.
I would ask if you work out, but given your garb, I would assume so.
I try to stay in shape. Physical fitness is important. I've got some free passes if you want to come down to the gym. I normally teach kids, but I'd be happy to show you a thing or two. We're open Monday through Friday. We do open mats on Saturday. He's just going to go on like this unless you stop him.
When you produce those copies, are they always naked?
Like, I think by now, like as they like got pushed against the wall, I think like as they hit the wall, they just like disappeared and became hairs again, just like sort of floated away on the wind. And he's just like, "Oh man, I got to work on that."
Yeah.
Like the Japanese thing when you kill an anime character, it becomes a block of wood and falls down.
Yeah, exactly.
You did well though.
What did I do? Why?
She inspects her gloves to make sure they're still intact and puts her hand out. Flora.
I'm JP. Nice to. You know what? No, it was not nice to meet you. I wish I had just gone home.
She didn't know she needed our help. Maybe she didn't. I really want to ask her who they were. You're not intrigued.
At that, you see the bouncer kind of walk up around on the roof, kind of looking down at the situation, and walk up to the two of you. I don't mean to be rude, but nobody's really allowed up here. I think I shall escort you back to the club and out the front door.
Of course. We were just looking for some privacy.
Oh, wait a minute. Is this Xanadu? You guys wouldn't let me in last week.
And he kind of looks at you, and he kind of takes a second, a 1-2, and he hands you a card and says admit one, and it's this sort of gold embossed sort of thing. Let's try another time.
And don't wear that.
like just sort of like shake my head, tuck the card into the gym bag that's like still on his shoulder. Yeah, he'll follow Flora's lead. If Flora goes inside, he'll follow her. He's still just confused as hell, and she seems like the only one willing to talk to him.
Yeah, if he follows her, fine. She's just going to walk back into the club and sit in the same exact table with her bottle sitting there.
Well, so as you're walking down, the bouncer is kind of escorting you towards the door. I think that it's time for you both to go. And you can see Mr. Gallows kind of walking in the room, kind of doing his thing, but he catches the eye of the bouncer, and he's like this, and he eventually makes his way over to you. So what happened with Megan? I understand that you followed her.
Yes, misunderstanding. I thought that maybe she needed help. We tried when he was rough with her, and she didn't want to get out of the car. She went off a separate way than him.
She didn't come back inside, though. She's
Did she
always
not?
here. No.
We saw her walk, and I'll tell him which street, like back. We saw her walk back towards the club.
She should have come back. And she points to the bouncer to go and check it out, the doorman. And he steps out. And you are, and he extends his hand to JP.
John Paul Tien. Most people call me JP. He's still like totally dressed terribly wrong for this club, right? Like he's in workout clothes with the gi top like open.
You see Flora just like pull his shirt down a little and open it up, trying to help. It's not helping. Trying to like get a little chest hair going, a little something. No.
Oh, he definitely doesn't have a shirt on under the gi.
There you go. Done.
And Mr. Gallows, looks at you with his one eye and says, "Next time you're here, just a little up, please. We do have a couple of standards here." Now, and the doorman comes back in. She didn't come back this direction, he says. That's unusual. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't catch your name again, ma'am.
Flora.
Miss Flora, I'm going to escort you and Mr. JP out here. You both are welcome back some other time. I have a feeling, though, that you need to freshen up.
She looks down and sees blood blood in her skin, all over her shirt.
And your face.
No, her face is fine. Her face is healed now. It's just flakes of skin and stuff that are like crusted on there.
Okay. And he says, "Come back another time." And so as you step out of Xanadu, there are a number of paparazzi who are standing there, and the word is starting to pass that Megan hasn't come back inside. Like she's disappeared. And you see that there's a couple of people doing some interviews. The paparazzi are, kind of stepping up and trying to figure out if anybody had seen her.
Yeah, she's just going to leave and start heading home.
All right, we're going to cut with the two of you just kind of, parting ways there to Malcolm across the street, kind of taking in the scene and the situation.
What's across the street?
What's across the street is Fog's Brew. It's a building with a parking structure basically built around it, but there's the coffee shop that you were in before, and you're just kind of there tracking down something for Gebhardt.
Okay, cool. It's closed, I assume. What time is it?
The Fog's Brew is it's probably in the late evening, so it's definitely closed.
Okay, so I don't think that JP would be paying too much attention until JP. Wow. Malcolm would be paying too much attention until a large crowd and like noise starts to happen. Like, because would he be there for the whole fight scene?
You would notice that there was some commotion, but that's not why Gebhardt had sent you there.
Okay.
Gebhardt had sent you there to track down his contact, who had been last spotted at Xanadu.
At night? Okay.
Yes, he's trying to locate her. He's not heard back from her.
Okay. Yeah, so he would have you would see, so across the street the camera kind of pans that way. You would likely see in like the alleyways that are on the side of this, because he came out of an alleyway previously, and as did Gepard. You would see like several like shadows slink into the alleyway, and there would be like a series of like coughs and whistles and things that seem innocuous, but to Malcolm have great meaning, because it's him and several of his friends that are kind of, moving around this building, dodging between trash cans and dumpsters, and looking for whatever, because it's rare that Malcolm goes anywhere without a couple friends. And so he would be making his way behind the building, and whatever commotion is around there, he would use that as a distraction point to kind of get through and around and to the back of the building where he knows there is a back door.
A back door to Xanadu?
No, to...
Sorry, the
contact is meeting where?
No, you were looking for the contact.
Right.
You were looking for the contact at Xanadu.
Oh, okay, okay.
You were asked to observe.
Okay, I thought you meant at the coffee shop. So I was like, why would they meet there at the coffee shop? It's super closed.
No.
Yeah, so then, yes, in that case, same thing. There would be the same shadows, but they would be going around the coffee shop, hiding across the street. As... Go ahead.
So I was going to say, if they're spreading out and kind of hiding across the street, then one of them would have caught eye of what was going on around the back of Xanadu.
Okay. And if... Okay, so yeah, I mean, I assume that they would eventually get that back to Malcolm. But so he kind of positions his friends around the adjoining buildings before he walks to... Xanadu has a fire escape, I would assume?
In the back, yes.
Okay, so he would as soon as he positions the guys across the street in like the next building, he would head down towards the back of Xanadu, looking for a fire escape. He doesn't know the city super well, but he knows it well enough that there are fire escapes on most tall buildings. And if he's looking for someone, he knows he can't get into this club, but he can at least find either a sneaky way in, or he can look from the roof and get a better vantage point. So he would head towards the back of this building.
Okay, so there's no obvious way to look inside when you kind of come back around and you're kind of looking at, there's no windows on top or anything like that whatsoever, and the door is clearly closed and locked from the roof access.
Okay, is anyone around?
No.
And you said there is a door from the roof access?
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as he establishes that he's alone out here, I'm not sure if this requires a roll or not, but if it does, I think it's a change the game. He walks up to the door and kind of like looks around, and then he leans into the door and just whispers something, and then I'm going to change the game and open that door.
Okay.
All right, let's see here. So I'm going to use shadow manipulation. I think that might be it.
Okay.
Actually, shadow manipulation and criminal underbelly?
How does that apply?
I don't know. I don't think it does either.
Well, so I mean,
You're breaking in.
This is a breaking and entering thing, but this isn't using something that is a typical approach to that. So that's why if you're streetwise, right? That's one thing, and you're using skills that are because of streetwise, but this really isn't what you're doing.
You know what? I'm gonna say shadow manipulation and everything's a game.
That definitely applies.
And then I'm going to roll a where is it? Change the game. Ka-chow. Let's see here. What did I get?
You got to partial.
Cool. So a success at least.
But there is going to be a consequence.
Yeah. So are you going to give me the consequence, or do I get one for you?
Do you want to come up with one, or would you? Want me to?
So I got one. So he leans into the door and he kind of like looks down and whispers something, and so I'm going to unlock the door. Create or summon new object. So his shadow extends underneath the door and turns whatever locking mechanism locks it from the inside, and then as soon as he opens the door, the klaxons whamp whamp as it's a fire escape, and it alerts someone to his location.
Okay. And do you still proceed inside?
Oh yeah, he proceeds inside. It's a game, and now there's a chase. So he's going to be quickly darting down the stairs to get into this place as fast as he can before any of like the side. I imagine it's like one of those winding staircases that has like doors that kind of come in. So he's basically running as fast as he can, leaping over the railing to the next floor, getting downstairs as fast as he can.
Okay, so you got 2 tags out of that. The first one was that you were able to open the door, right? So you created or summoned a new object, your shadow, to change the situation for you. What's the second status? Because you talked about the consequence, which is the alarm. What's the second status?
The second status is the shadow stays on the roof and looks like a person is on the roof as a distraction. So when they come out to see what's wrong with that door, they see the shadow of a person on the roof and they go, "Oh, hey, what are you doing out there, guy?" So it creates a story tag, as like we'll call it. Whoever gets up there will be distracted one.
Okay. All right. So you run down the stairs down to essentially the 3rd floor proper. Looks like you're in some sort of back room, sort of storage area where there's items up here. It's not foodstuffs or any kind. It's more like props and lights and other kinds of things. And so you kind of dart behind a box as somebody kind of runs past you up the stairs. And they're like, you hear, "Hey, who are you?" And the door slams, and you hear them running across the roof, following a shadow.
Yeah, suck it, everybody else.
So now you're in the storage room upstairs.
Okay, so he would wait till he hears the footsteps stop moving, and then he would leave the storage room. Do I have a description of this person that I'm supposed to be looking for?
Young woman, 20s, always has her head in a PDA or a computer.
Okay.
Somebody you might have actually met before.
I was going to say, how far away is this? This is so. I guess he would he put that together?
I don't know. Would he put that?
How soon after the events of the coffee shop was this?
Probably a couple of weeks.
Okay, I would say no. He would not put that together. So yeah, he would wait till he stops hearing noises, and he would bound down the stairs. He would get out of the storage room and get downstairs as quickly as possible.
Would Malcolm see this as a game of hide and seek, though?
He absolutely would, but that guy already lost because he's way upstairs, and now he has to play that game downstairs with all the people.
No, game of hide and seek with finding the person.
Maybe. It depends. It depends what he sees when he gets downstairs, because he's never been inside of a club before, so he doesn't know what to expect when he gets here. This could be a smooth jazz dance club, and everyone's on the dance floor, or it could be like a party. He doesn't really understand what the connotation of what this place is that he's going into. So he'll head downstairs, and then what does he see when he gets to the bottom floor?
When he gets to the bottom floor, he sees the club proper and the floor with the jazz stand or the bandstand over in the corner with the stage. The band playing. You see the bar at the back of the place. It's all lit up and it's colorful. Live music, loud but not overwhelming. People dancing. The people seated around. And it becomes a game of Where's Waldo?
Mm-hmm. So as soon as he gets to like the base of the stairs, right, he sees this crowds of people, lights are flashing all over the place, and it looks like the most intense party he's ever seen. And he kind of jumps, yes, and then he dodge rolls for no reason at all forward, and then springs to his feet, and then he just starts like weaving in between the crowds, and he's just humming.
And so as you're kind of
dips
making your way,
crawls under someone's legs and pops back up.
You feel a hand on your shoulder. Excuse me, son. Should you be here?
Yes.
And you turn, and you see this older gentleman, white grayish hair, silver white suit, pendant or brooch of a spear on his left lapel, and he says, "Aren't you a little young to be here, son?
Aren't you a little old?
I own the place."
I do too.
Really?
Yes.
And what is your name?
What
Mr.
is
owner of
yours?
this place?
Xanadu. Mr.
Your name is Xanadu?
I would name the club after myself, clearly.
Really, Mr. Xanadu? My name is Mr. Gallows.
See, that's a bad name for a club. That's why you don't own this one.
I can't actually refute that logic. However, can I offer you a glass of milk? Maybe a thimble full of honey?
Do you have chocolate?
I do.
Then yes.
step this way, please.
Yes, this is a
And
great day.
he puts his arm around you and kind of leads you toward the bar. And he whispers something to the bartender behind.
And he's like looking at people. He's like,
past a gigantic bar of chocolate. And he puts it in front of you.
"Oh, I meant in the milk. This is so much better." And he immediately starts snacking on the chocolate. This is so. What can I do for you in my club?
Xanadu,
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
What can I do for you in my establishment, Mr. Gallows?
Mr. Xanadu, this is a lovely establishment you have.
Thank you.
What are you doing here?
I'm looking for a person, a lady person. What are you doing here, besides getting me chocolate?
Well, I'm running your establishment, Mr. Xanadu.
Oh, you should get a raise. You're very good at it.
I've not heard that before.
Well-
And he points to the bar. I need a raise. Can you tell the boss I am the boss? Oh,
He
okay.
needs a raise, if you could.
Yeah, this is the boss. This is the new boss here. His name is Mr. Xanadu.
Hey.
So, Mr. Xanadu, wouldn't you know everybody who comes into your club? I mean, as the man who runs your club, I go and introduce myself to every single person that's here.
Well, see, that seems like that's your job. That's why I don't know, because you know. Right.
Okay.
But
So-
if you could tell me which one of the person that's here that I'm looking for, that would be great.
Can you offer me a description of this particular person?
Absolutely. And he does so. Whatever this person looks like. Actually, I believe I know what she looks like. He says she has a hat, and she has red hair, and a shirt, sometimes a backpack. She has a phone that she likes to look at all the time, and she's really good on computers and very fast. And she talks real fast, and she moves real fast, and she says a lot of things, and then she doesn't make a lot of sense. And then sometimes she's like, we gotta go do this one thing. And then she's like, boo! And then she has a car, but it's not like a very nice car. And then I think that's it. And she has blue eyes.
And he starts going, and he's doing all of these, he's doing all of these items. That well, if you said red, that might, and then
This is good milk.
did I provide you with milk? Where did that come from? Where did that did you? And he looks back, wondering where you got the glass of milk for just a second. But he's clearly playing along with you.
It was right under there. There's like a jug and there's like a tiny fridge.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, I believe you're talking about a young woman that I know as Flicker.
Okay.
She's not here right now, though.
Man.
Can I ask, Mr. Xanadu, why are you looking for her in your club?
I was told she would be here. And since I own this place, I figured it would be best if I just come down myself.
Okay, well, is there some place I can, when she shows up, I can have her find you? Because I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks.
Yes, there is.
Will she find you here at your club, Mr. Xanadu, or is
No. I'm not here. I'm not here all the
posh
time.
estate,
No. I have an office, and he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out the office that Calvin works at, and hands the business card to Mr. Gallows and says, "She's been here before. This is where we met. She'll know exactly where it is, and she can meet me there."
Calvin. Do you know this gentleman?
Yes.
So why are you giving out his card as your business location?
I own that building also.
Mr. Xanadu, that is amazing. You are one hell of a businessman.
That's true.
Taking a class? Will you make me your apprentice? I would love to.
I can. Do you have a business card that I could use to contact you for this class?
And he's like, sure. And he hands you a business card. And it says, Xanadu, owner-operator, Mr. Gallows.
Well, that's not quite accurate, but that's okay. We'll take that one anyway, under advisement.
And at the top of it, you see the embossed emblem of the same spear that is on his lapel.
Ooh. Now, is that because like you like pointy sticks, or
A time or two in the past, I've felt the need to poke things with a stick. Yes.
I also sometimes poke things with a stick. Sometimes my friends and I, we have sword fights, and that's really cool. So if you ever want to have a sword fight, we can have a sword fight. Sometimes we play other games, but I'm not sure. It's usually like kid games, like younger.
Mr. Xanadu,
Yes.
can I make a suggestion?
Okay.
Come back here during the day at some point. Bring your friends. I would love to meet them all.
There's a lot of them.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'll make sure to provide extra milk and cookies.
Yes. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I'm going to leave. You're doing a great job today, Mr. Gallows, and I will see you another time.
Thank you, Mr. Xanadu. I do appreciate you taking the time to come and visit your business.
Thank you. Also, raise for this guy. And he just says to the bartender, this one, write that down.
And the bartender pretends to write it down. And when you see him pretend to write it down, you actually see him write it down on a piece of...
And he hops off the bar stool, and he's now like way shorter than the guy. And he just sticks his hand out and says, "It was nice meeting you."
And he shakes your hand. And when you shake his hand, there's some emotional energy. There's like a fatherly figure kind of a thing that just kind of comes off of him, and it shakes you for just a second.
That is a big handshake you have.
Well, it's nice seeing you, Mr. Xanadu. I hope we see each other again very soon at your business.
Absolutely. Because I know there's lots of milk and cookies here, and that's how I like to run a business.
All right.
And he starts to like awkwardly turn and leave. And he starts walking towards the entrance.
Okay, and so we're going to cut to... let's see. We'll go to... I'm having trouble remembering Greg's character right now.
Gepard.
Why am I... Gepard.
It's in Zoom.
Gepard.
I know. Gepard. So, Gepard, where do we find you, having sent Malcolm off to find Flicker?
He'd probably be in his workshop. That's where he is 90% of the time anyway.
Okay. And so, in finding your workshop, what are you doing currently?
In my workshop?
Mm-hmm.
Currently, there are stacks and sheets and bins full of every conceivable size, type, texture of wood. There is, everything from plywood to heartwood to any and everything, any shape of size, any cut of lumber, anything you can think of. And he's in there currently working on what appears to be some type of chair, but it seems to be a very Gothic, very ancient, very elaborate chair in that it is more thrown. It has two armrests with like the curved armrests for your hands to drape down. And it's got a large back on it with a fan. And he's just currently working on it. The feet of the chair are very elaborate. They look like lion's paws or dragon's claws as they touch the ground. And he's just sitting there using basically his thumb, occasionally a chisel or a file or something. But most of the time, it's just his fingers as he drags it along the wood, and the wood will curl up around his fingers as he moves it.
Okay. 2 questions for you in your workshop. 1, do you keep any type of radio or television on in the background? Any type of entertainment, or any type of noise, background noise?
It's funny you should ask, Johnny, because constantly, depending upon exactly what type of technology is available, there are currently hits from the 80s always playing in Gepard's workshop.
Man, after my own heart. I think this Gephardt guy and I are going to have to hang out a little bit more. Maybe play, watch some movies. That's question number 1. This was radio in the background, kind of always playing. Is it a radio, or is it so consider modern technology? Is it like MP3 player, streaming station, whatever?
The extent of the technology that he would use would probably be like one of the original XM or Sirius XM satellite boombox type setups with a very like hodgepodge rigged wiring system so he can get satellite radio in his workshop, which is underground. So he probably has it worked through something.
Okay. So second question, your contact with Malcolm, he does work for you occasionally. You helped him out. He helps you out. How do you stay in contact with him or is it just he kind of shows up when, for a job or, when you send him on his way? And how does that work out? How does that relationship work out between the two of you, actually?
I think I could easily answer this, but Mike, if I'm wrong, correct me. I think it's whenever Malcolm shows up.
Okay.
But Malcolm has been good. He does have honor. And Malcolm will show up because of a pledge.
And not because there's always snacks.
So you had sent Malcolm previously tonight to go and find your friend or your contact, young woman that calls herself Flicker, who was going to, was supposed to be giving you more information about what happened to the gentleman that you were sent to meet, Gerald Walker, after you there were witnessing his murder. In that, you haven't heard from her, for a couple of weeks, and have since tried to make contact with the Walker Foundation to try and get more information about what the situation was and who you could talk to gain, to build a relationship there to get some sort of information, because it was clear that this Walker person was going to be able to help you in some way, shape, or form to the next stage of whatever it is you're doing. In that, you were told that all business had stopped for the time being, as the foundation figured out its leadership and new direction, given the loss of Gerald Walker. But in that, you did hear that one of the Dere sisters was going to get nominated potentially as the successor, because they are on the board of directors there for the foundation. And one name in particular kept coming up, Phoebe Dere, the eldest sister of the three. And so you're just kind of sitting there waiting for Malcolm to see if he can locate Flicker, when you hear across the radio that Alexis Dere has been involved in some sort of disappearance at the main library in downtown. And that kind of catches your ear. And as you're kind of listening to it, you also find out that news is beginning to circulate that Megan has disappeared from the club Xanadu, also in downtown. And the reactions are they're trying to get the reporter says that they're trying to get a reaction from the eldest sister Phoebe, who is currently unavailable for comment at this time.
Okay, so from the reports, 2 of the 3 sisters have disappeared.
That is correct.
Okay, would I know the location of Phoebe, or is that who I sent him to find, or did I send him to find another one?
You sent him to find Flicker, who was supposed to have more information for you and has been out of contact for a couple of weeks.
Okay, would I know as Gepard Caparelli where Phoebe would be?
Probably not. I mean, they are celebrities in the city, but the Dere sisters do try to keep it pretty much a private life, except for Megan, who is at Xanadu every single night. She is quite the socialite there. You do know that Phoebe is the business oriented one of the 3, and she tends to focus on the big. She basically has the CEO type role. She the wheeling and dealing and making the big deals kind of a thing. The middle sister Megan is known as the no nonsense day to day business type, and Megan is known as the sort of the front person or spokesperson for the organization.
Okay, but as the rumor mill would have it, Phoebe's the one that's supposed to assume the role of Grand Poobah in the Walker Foundation.
She is being yeah, the rumor says that she is being sought for chairman of the Walker Foundation, the new chairman of the Walker Foundation.
There's nothing that Gephardt can do about any of this other than note it that 2 of the 3 sisters have disappeared, and his target of Phoebe being a potential replacement for Walker is...
Well, so let me ask you this question then, because I see where you're going with that line of thinking then. Given that information, what type of action would Gephardt have taken, in previous to these essentially these 2 weeks here, or these 2 or 3 weeks here? Like, what type of research or what type of activity would he have participated in?
Okay, well, to put it bluntly, Gephardt has reached a dead end. He cannot go any further in his personal investigation because he cannot. He's exhausted all other avenues to find the people that killed his family. Sure. The lead that he had was Walker, which he agreed to meet with in public, which was very dangerous for him. If he found out that this Phoebe was taking the place of this Walker and potentially had access to the same information that Walker had, he would have done everything possible to track her location, whether that was using Malcolm or even himself or even some of his helpers. Mm-hmm. He would have done all of that. And if he heard that 2 of the 3 sisters are missing, he would sense that there's a possibility he could be losing his last lead, one that he's already spent time on, and he is growing desperate at this point. So what he would do is, if he had any indication of where she might be, the office building, maybe she's at her home, maybe she is has some type of social event that he's tracked her over these several weeks, she frequents a certain restaurant, he would go there.
So the reason that you sent Malcolm is because Flickr can get you that type of information. She is somebody who can easily acquire things that are very difficult to acquire, and that's why you've sent Malcolm, is because you're incredibly frustrated with that particular situation.
Okay, so there isn't any way that Gephardt could know where to go to kind of protect her, head off any potential abduction. Okay, well then he will,
because you wouldn't have any type of indication as of yet as to what was going on there.
Okay, well then he would turn around and he would slam down what he was doing, realizing the futility of the last several weeks spent. If in fact these sisters are dropping like flies, he could potentially lose his latest lead.
Okay.
And be back at square one.
Okay. So with that all kind of situated, what would Gepphardt's next step be?
Since he has no way to contact Phoebe, Flickr was his connection to her.
Flickr was his connection to information. It was never
information that could potentially get him to her. Right. Correct. He has not heard back from Malcolm yet. What he would do is, in a basically futile effort, he will send out his helpers to see if they can somehow find Phoebe, Flickr, or even Malcolm and bring him to them.
Okay, so talk about your helpers.
Much like the wooden butterfly that he also has several other creatures. Most of them have the ability to fly. There is a hawk. There is a sparrow. There are several little ladybugs that all fly together, and they look like they're connected by an invisible wire, because when they land, they turn back into a little carving. And those various insects and birds of prey that he has, he would send out, and they would light across the city, and hopefully he'd get lucky and they'd see something. But he's been doing this day after day after day after day to no result. And he would know it's futile, but he would do it anyway.
So what was he doing? So he was sending these out specifically for what reason prior to this?
Yeah, that would probably be how he figured out about Walker, how Walker could potentially be somebody that would help him.
Right.
And then when the Walker thing went through or fell through, he would send them out again, just hoping to just kind of, pull the nets through the city. hoping to catch something, maybe someday, maybe not today or tomorrow or a week from now, but maybe in a month or two, it would just catch another hint or another some type of clue like he had with Walker. And now he feels very desperate because if this, Phoebe is gone, he's back to just shooting in the dark.
Okay. All right. So with all of that, you're sending them out. They don't bring you back anything significant. The information that it's a shot in the dark, right? So all of that is happening. And it's incredibly frustrating for you as this is, as they all kind of come back and sort of return. With that in mind, are you just going to be there fuming? Is that what's going to happen here?
He would rarely leave the workshop unless it directly impacts his quest or potentially a debt that he has to pay to further his quest. So if it's a tit for tat with somebody like Malcolm, if Malcolm needed him to do something, he would leave the workshop to help Malcolm because Malcolm is helping him. Okay. But otherwise, he's not leaving because it's too dangerous.
All right. So then, as you're just kind of fuming there and frustrated, word comes across the radio for a third time, reporting that in addition to Megan and Alexis, Phoebe has now been last seen in at Olympus at the party, at a big socialite party held at the home of a Mr. Knox, who was throwing quite a big business affair at his home on Olympus. And Olympus is this sort of Bel Air kind of posh neighborhood thing, out on the edge of the city, in the mountains. And it that she has was last seen there, but couldn't be reached when her sisters were reported gone, and now she has also kind of vanished. Can't hear you.
Yeah, but there is an address that this Mr. Knox in Olympus was the last place she was seen, and it was recently, like just came across the newswire,
Yep.
Okay. What he would do is, as he is moving towards one of the shadows, he's grabbing his satchel and throwing it over his shoulder. He's just scooping things off of his workshop desk and throwing them into the satchel and into his pockets and heading towards a very dark corner, a very large corner. Mm-hmm. As he's walking, he's relaying this information, Mr. Knox, Olympus. And there is a disembodied hand that has a pen in it that is kind of on a little track right above a pad of paper. And as he's talking, the hand is fluidly writing exactly what he's saying. And it signs it Mr. G and it heads it Malcolm. So if Malcolm were to come in, he would know exactly where he had gone. He then goes to the farthest corner. And as he gets closer to the corner, there are burst and empty plastic bags full of organic fertilizer everywhere. It smells like manure in this corner. And as he gets closer, he kind of kicks a couple out of the way and he gingerly walks up. And again, this huge gloved hand comes out and kind of knuckles down on the stone. And he says, "Boy, to Olympus." And he swings onto the back of a massive shadowy creature that resembles an ape. And though it is hidden in the shadows, its long arms run like an ape, and he bursts out into the tunnel beneath the city and eventually into the air itself, heading for Mr. Knox's party.
So can I ask you a question
Sure.
about how Gephardt communicates with other people? If he doesn't communicate with Malcolm other than when Malcolm shows up, how does he communicate with other people? Or how would somebody else contact him like Flicker?
He would have drop points along the city. And those drop points would be, if it was somebody that he's already vetted 6 ways to Sunday and probably sent Malcolm out to just watch them. He would have drop locations in the park and throughout the city that one of his, birds or hawks would come down and pick up a note or deliver a note, or, kind of like carrier pigeon.
Okay. So it's as you're beginning to make your way towards Olympus, that one of your butterflies checks in at one of your drop points, and there's a note waiting there for you. And you get the sense that that's there, and so it's flying towards you as you're moving towards Olympus. And when you kind of arrive towards essentially the walled sort of structure that that is the wall and gate to this private community that is Olympus, it arrives kind of at you, kind of arrives with you and provides you with this little folded note. And on it is just a phone number.
He would stop for a moment, command the creature beneath him to stop as the creature kind of folds in and rests on its knuckles. And he pulls out a burner cell phone and he calls the number.
Hello?
Who is this?
It's Flicker. Where are you?
Where are you?
I don't have time for your games, Gephardt. I'm trying to help you. Where are you?
I'm on my way to this party in Olympus.
Olympus? Why are you... You're going to Nox's party to find Phoebe, aren't you?
Yes, I am. You are the one with the information, it seems.
Well, it just came across the radio. That's why I called you. I got your messages. I just haven't had an opportunity to get back to you. I've been really busy. I'm in danger. I need your help.
Well, my dear girl, can you help me?
You know I can.
Are you going to be too busy for me?
Gephardt, I don't have time for this. Either you're going to help me or you're not going to help me.
Where are you?
I'm in the old quarter. I'm kind of hiding in a shack. And she starts to give you a description of the location of where she is. I can't be here long, so if you're going to help me, you need to get here. Otherwise, I'm going to have to move. I'm being tracked.
Very well. He takes a moment to scratch the description down on the note that was delivered by the butterfly. He reaches in, takes the butterfly, which is slower moving, puts it in his pocket, and pulls out a pigeon, which bursts into life. He attaches it to the pigeon's leg, and he says, "Find Malcolm." And he throws it, and it...
Okay. And so we're going to cut to Flora. Flora, where are you after the events at Xanadu?
It depends. Is she getting called in to investigate this death? Is that guy dead? Is he still alive?
Which guy?
The guy I burned.
No. So there appears to be no call, no emergency, no service that needs to be rendered behind Xanadu, which strikes you as a little odd as well.
Okay. She would head to, I guess, the morgue, where she volunteers. She takes shifts with one of her friends. She would just go there and kind of hang out.
All right. So then while you're doing that, we're going to cut to JP. What happens to JP after the events at Xanadu?
So I think he's going to try to follow Flora, because he still is very confused about the whole thing that went down. He saw a lot of weird shit, and he thinks that she has more answers than she was giving him.
Would he follow her all the way into the morgue if she goes in?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you would see is she stops off. There's like a back entrance for employees. You see her writing her name and signing in and, talking to the person there. And then once she notices you, she'll just, tell the guy it's fine. He's with me, before you even come in. And she'll walk down, start changing in a bathroom, walk in, scrub in, and just kind of start going about, her business.
So I think like JP is just like wandering through the like halls of this morgue, very visibly creeped out. It's just like he's calling out, but it's like it's kind of like that feeling that you would maybe sometimes get in like a cemetery or like a church or something, where like even though no one says anything, it feels like you're not supposed to be loud. So he like calls out in like sort of a hushed tone, but he's trying to like get his voice to carry, and he's like, creepy girl, where are you?
If you keep wandering, you'll find she's not going to answer you, but you'll find her eventually. She's sitting in one of the rooms with boots on and all black pants, white jacket, all black clothes, with her hair up.
Yeah. He walks in and sees the body like on the table, like all opened up, and he's like, "Oh Jesus, that's a dead guy. Oh boy. Who the hell are you?"
This is my job. I work here.
Do you kill them too?
No.
Oh, this
is where people work. It's a morgue. There's a hospital above us.
Well, don't pretend I didn't see what you did to that guy. That was crazy. Just trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay. Would you like coffee? Anything?
No, I try not to drink caffeine. It's not super good for you. So what's going on?
So as you can see, this is my job. One of them. He's dead.
I'm not talking about this. I was talking about that, all of that.
I don't know. I saw what you saw in the club.
Well, that guy, he said a name to you. Megan?
It was the woman's name. Do you not know who she is? She's quite well known, even by someone like me.
Oh, God. Are they going to come after me now? Oh, this isn't good.
I don't know who they were.
Oh, that does not inspire confidence.
She did go missing shortly after. Would it make you feel better if we walked around outside? Is this making you uncomfortable?
Well, it's not making me comfortable.
She's going to walk over and kind of just take him by the shoulders gently and just put him in a chair. This is the calming chair.
Yeah. JP will sit down and it'll be like, so you didn't know anything more than I did. You just got involved and tried to. What'd you do to that guy?
I was trying to subdue him.
Just 'cause?
'Cause they were being rough with her, and I didn't like it.
Okay.
I try not to get involved with their lives, but sometimes I can't help myself. We can go. I can understand that this makes you quite uncomfortable. Just give me a moment if that's okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I get it's just your job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a lot of dead bodies
That's fair.
I try not to kill people.
I try not to as well. Just a moment. And then you see her go over and she, puts the body back in for storage. And she pulls another one out and starts to prep just to take notes. Like she's just like checking in like all the bodies that have come in, and she's just doing quick notes, like quick little jotting things down. And then you'll see her take the hand of one of the bodies and almost reassuringly just gently rubbing the hand, not in a creepy way, not in a, just in a, like a patting almost. And you hear her under her breath speaking to this person. And she's just nodding and gently talking. And you see her just gently push it back in and then just, finish up her notes. And she hangs up the chart and she comes back. I'll have to come back to finish my work, but we can go grab not coffee if you'd like.
I like tea.
Okay, that also has caffeine, but we can do that. That's fine.
Not herbal tea.
After you.
So as you're both are getting up and moving off to go get tea, you get a text message on your phone, Flora. Not sure the number, you don't recognize it, but it's got an address, and it's an address in the old quarter.
Do you recognize this number?
Do I recognize the number?
No.
Do you recognize the address? Okay. So I just got this text message after we had this whole night out. You obviously can pick things up and put them down and jump pretty high. Would you like to accompany me? I promise I'm not going there to try to kill anybody. And I'll try to keep my hands to myself.
Okay. All right. Well, you got me invited into the club. I've been denied there like 6 times.
I can't imagine why. And she
I
makes a
know.
sarcastic face and just starts walking away
Yeah,
while listening to him complain.
It goes right over JP's head. He's like, he'll head with you to this place.
Okay, we're going to cut to Malcolm. Where are you after exiting the club?
So he tries to get back in, first of all. Like, he goes to the line and waits just to see if he can get in. And then he obviously gets refused by any sensible adult, just to see if he could do it.
Which actually isn't what happens.
Okay.
Because as you step up, oh, Mr. Xanadu, please come back into your club.
Now, I was just testing you.
You don't have to wait in line.
No, you did a great job, Mr. Good work. And then he goes to leave again. Raise.
Okay.
And then he begins to leave again. And then, like shadows, like you just see like a kid sort of pop out from an alleyway and sort of start walking, and then like another kid, like the of like the fire escape come down, and then another kid kind of pops out, and he looks like the Pied Piper of Hamelin as he's walking down, and it's like kids just sort of start popping out of alleyways, and he's like, okay, so I got milk, chocolate. Lady wasn't there. I'm Mr. Xanadu. I gotta find Mr. G. I need food. I need Mr. G. I need a cookie. And he's trying to go through that list where like you just start saying list over and over again, and then you jumble the list together in the order of the things. You gotta go to Mr. G's house for cookies, and I have to flick. Nope, I don't know what that one was. Okay, cool. Yeah, guys. Okay. You go home. I'm gonna go see Mr. G, and then I'll meet you there. Break. And then he starts to head
off. And as you're starting to head towards Gephardt's, that's when his little birdie comes and finds you.
Yeah, and so he sees like an actual bird come towards him, He says, "Ooh, it's a night bird." He like puts his hand out for it to land on his finger.
And it does, and it just kind of pecks at you for just a second, and then deposits the note into the palm of your hand, and then flies off again.
Oh no, that would have been way cooler if I had a pet bird. Okay. Anyway, and he opens up the letter, and what does it say, Greg?
It is the address of the location that Mr. Gephardt had written down for you.
Yeah. So he takes this
quarter.
and he sort of just like plops down in the middle of the sidewalk. Okay, and this is 114.
But it's written in such a way as it is easily read by Malcolm, in that there are also drawings incorporated into it, and there's symbols, and there are items and geographical landmarks. Like there's a picture of what looks to be a statue holding a bundle of flowers, and there's an arrow pointing one way. And
yeah, so he originally reads the address, trying to figure out what that means, what kind of code this is, and then turns the paper over, and there's a treasure map for where he needs to go. He says, "Yes, this is the best. I hope he has something at the end of this." Okay, so first thing,
there's a piratey X at the end of it.
Of course there is, because my dad was a pirate. I don't know if you guys know that. So he says, "Okay, so the lady with flowers." And like, I will find this. And he takes off down the street, looking for the different landmarks in the direction of this address.
Okay. And we're going to cut to Gephardt arriving in the Old Quarter. Now, downtown is the district of lights and steel and sound and just a cacophony of everything. The Old Quarter is very different. It has a very New Orleans kind of a feel, an old New Orleans sort of a Bourbon Street kind of a feel in respect to the way that you might imagine it. And in the Old Quarter, the streets evolve and kind of shift from this sort of asphalt and concrete and very much a suburban kind of a thing, because it seated up next to it is the blue collar neighborhood, where most of the real folk of the city kind of live, and spread out across the city to do work and other kinds of jobs. But as you shift from the blue collar district into the Old Quarter, the streets go from asphalt and concrete to cobblestone, and just the quality of the road kind of changes and is very different. And then the architecture is wrought iron and beautiful, wood and Victorian style houses, and structures that seem out of time in some ways. And every time you kind of look down a street or an alley, or follow along in deeper into the Old Quarter, there appears to be actual fog sort of floating all around on the ground. And it kind of just moves in and out of the buildings, and deeper and deeper into the Old Quarter as you get towards essentially what used to be the original docks before the district of the docks was actually kind of established, where all the shipping and commerce were coming in. The street lights go from electric lights to old gas lamps, and it's almost as you get deep into it, you're just into this transformed location. Like it's almost out of time in some ways. And so, Gephardt, as you're kind of moving through this district, how does your son move in a place like this? I mean, there's not a lot of places to necessarily hide because the buildings aren't tall, right? They're 2 and 3 story buildings. It's more, old neighborhoods, and the spacing between the houses. So there's a lot going on here, right? There's a big cemetery that you can move through, but I mean, what steps do you take to hide moving through out in the open?
Well, I was just going to say, as soon as we got from a place that was predominantly commercial or had, flat roofs, and we would normally travel the city by rooftop. But whenever we would get to a place where you can't really climb up and down shingles and 2- and 3-story structures because you're going to make a hell of a noise and it's going to leave a path of destruction, he would dismount and he would send his son into the periphery, meaning, if there is a graveyard, he would go through it. His son has the ability that if anybody would happen to stumble upon him, if he stands still and puts his great arms out, he might be mistaken for a tree or a fallen tree or a dead tree or some type of undergrowth, as it would be seen through the mist, of course.
Of course.
So that's how he would work that, but he would keep him away from the actual streets. And specifically, he would keep him away from the gas lamps that are powering the street lights. And Gepard himself keeps a wide berth from these gas and flame-driven lamps. He is very aware of wherever they are on the street. He, steers completely clear of them whenever possible. And he would head towards this spot, kind of aware of where his son is. And then once he gets to the address, he would have his son approach at the best possible and the stealthiest manner.
Okay. And so as you approach, Flicker had described it to you as a shack. And what you actually come into is an old, dilapidated Victorian derelict house. It's clearly seen better days, and it's sort of on the edge before what would essentially be the downtown element of, or the central place of the old quarter, where there would be restaurants and bars and sort of these the center of commerce in there, representing the old world of food and drink and taste and that kind of a thing in a lot of ways. What about the old quarter is it is the original district of the city. The city started here; it originated here in a lot of ways, right? This is where the the mystique and the majesty of the city that kind of is. And so, looking at this derelict house, that there's something a little bit off about it, right? While its structure does not seem sound, it's clearly still standing after what seems to be an incredibly long time since it was maintained. And so as you step into the yard, all of the plants are kind of overgrown and everything else, kind of creeping over vines over the wrought iron gate that kind of the gate and fence that kind of walls this structure in. And it's an old 2-story, Victorian style, Southern Victorian kind of a thing, very Gothic. As you kind of step up to the stairs, and the door is kind of halfway open and leaning, on its, on one hinge. And there's a subtle breeze kind of blowing through, and you can feel the ocean air kind of in that breeze, and it's very cold.
As he gets closer, he will withdraw the block of wood that he normally carries with him. And even though it's a block, he will stretch the wood long into a very sharp blade. And he will just kind of fold it up inside of his jacket with just the handle sticking out so it can be drawn. And at this point, too, he will pull up his hat a bit, and his left eye begins to glow and create almost like a flashlight or a lantern, a hooded, focused like a railroad lantern as it goes out, and it looks around like a mini spotlight, sending a blue light from his eye as he looks around. And in that blue light, you can see a shadow of a small bipedal figure as if it's being reflected, as if something's standing in front of the light inside of his eye. And he begins to kind of scan and look around as he walks up the steps and eases open the door.
Walking inside, the blue light kind of shining around, you see the door on its hinges just kind of swinging off to the side as you kind of push into essentially what is the hallway, the entrance hallway of the structure. And off to your right, is a study type setting where there's a desk and but it's all kind of dilapidated, and there's cobwebs, and the furniture is sort of rotting a little bit. And off to the left is a big open area that you assume is sort of more like a hospitality room, or a lounge, or a sort of a living room kind of a situation. And there was a couple of couches there, and off in a corner, seated in a chair, to one side, kind of looking out the window, is a young woman just kind of typing on her phone, and just not really paying attention to you all as you kind of enter.
Flicker?
What took you so long? You're usually faster with your son.
I was almost all the way over to Olympus. You're still here?
Yeah, barely.
What?
Gephardt, before anything else, thank you for coming. I know that was important to you, and for you to come this direction. Thank you.
You're to help me, Flicker.
And you're to help me. That doesn't mean I can't say thank you. Anyways, and she types on her phone. Where's Malcolm? I know he's usually with you these days.
Why am I here, Flicker?
Always to the point. I'm being followed. Looking at information for you, looking into the Walker Foundation. It's brought me onto the radar, I guess is the best way to describe it. And she's typing on her phone. And yeah, radar seems to be the right according to Wikipedia. I'm on the radar of somebody or something. I don't know, but I've been being followed, and I'm not easily followed, Gephardt.
Are you waiting for them here?
No, I'm waiting for you. Last I saw them, I was in the industrial zone. I was checking into a lead over there. There's a halfway house for helping recovering addicts, and there was some indication over there, and that's when I noticed them again. And so I did what I do best and made my way out of there very quickly and used some tricks, and I'm here now, and I don't know how long before they find me, but I think they'll find me.
And what am I to do, Flicker? What is Malcolm to do?
I don't know what Malcolm does. He's a kid,
He is much more than that.
Clearly. Just as your son is clearly much more than your son, isn't he? But that's not what's important. What's important is I need your help. And what I can do for you in return is get the information that you're looking for. I've been doing a lot of tracking, a lot of digging, but I need you to make one of your little toys that looks like to make it look like me, and as a distraction. I need a little bit more time to figure out what's going on.
That is not a little toy then, is it, Flicker?
You know what I mean.
Is she lying, Johnny?
No, she is not lying.
How old is she, by the way?
She's 26.
Okay.
She's clearly young and talented, and feeling a little out of her depth based on your experience in the world.
My dear, that is not something that I can produce in the moments that we have here. This is something that will require my workshop.
Okay. Well, how long is it going to take?
I work much faster when I am given tidbits to think about. Perhaps some information that you could provide me, and I might be much quicker in my process.
Let me guess. You want to know something about Phoebe, or the Dare sisters in general?
That's a start.
All right. Well, here's what I have for you. And Malcolm, Gephardt, I'm sorry, it's not much right now, but I am trying to gain access to their business. I am trying to get access to their building right now. But they've got some of the best security that I've ever seen for a food and beverage company. Their security rivals that of a government. I mean, I can't even, I don't even have how to explain it. I'm good. It's electronic. It holds information. I can get into it. I can usually get it. I can usually gain access to a building. You've seen what I can do, but I can't get into there, and I'm not sure why. But what I can tell you right now is somebody on the street wants them. What's the word for it? Gone.
Dead?
No, at least that's not what the. So the rumor on the street is that there's a couple of gangs that have been engaged to kind of help. The alley cats were spotted at the main library tonight in downtown, where Alexis disappeared from. I'm trying to get the name of the one that's after Megan, but that's still, I'm not sure what's going on there. But as I understand it, the Skulls were involved with the disappearance of Phoebe in Olympus, which is weird because that's not the kind of place the Skulls operate. That's not their style. That's not their business. But
We're
somebody,
not. As
Really?
long as the Jets and the Sharks are not involved, we'll be okay.
I don't know. I think you're right, but regardless, if I was looking to figure this out, I'd start there to figure out why they disappeared. I just, yeah. But like I said, I'm working on it, but I can't get in there. I can't spend the time and get in there if I'm continuing to have to run. I need your help. You need to make me one of your little toys as a distraction so that I can spend some time trying to get into their building.
Or we could wait for them to find us here and we could eliminate the threat.
If you want, I mean, I don't think that's going to work though.
Why not?
Because the last time that I eliminated one of them, two more came after me. And by eliminate, I mean he went off a tall building. And he came back and he looked exactly the same. And then there was another one that looked exactly the same, just like him. Two of them. Kind of weird guys, sort of, gray suit kind of thing. Ashen features, but their eyes kind of glowed red a little. I'm not sure what that meant. But they're not. I mean, I don't know. They're just I've never seen them before, but they just seem to appear wherever I am.
We'll make you a toy. And if they find us at the workshop, it'll be bad for them.
I'm not going to lie to you. I did made an anonymous call to somebody else that I think that might be able to help in this situation. Somebody who I saw on camera dealing with it. I got an alert. I've got a little thing that, mentioned that these two of them had been spotted working at Xanadu tonight. Which ironically, Megan was also spotted on that camera feed. And she pulls her phone and she kind of points it and she shows it to you. And what you see is the video feed of the fight that happened between JP and Flora and the two and Megan. But she clearly wasn't taken there, and she lets the video play and you see the events happen. She was supposed to go around into the Xanadu. At least that's what it looked like. But then she disappeared, and I'm just not sure what's going on. I can't find none of my, like, there's a glitch, and you see there's video of her walking around the corner, and then there's this brilliant flash, the light, the camera goes, completely like snow and fuzzy and everything for just a second, and then it reappears. She's no longer seen on that scene. I can't even explain it. I don't know what. I just don't know.
So you've called these two other people, the one that has punched the car and turned into naked versions of himself, and this woman who has pulled her own skin off and apparently throws acid at people. The workshop is crowded enough with Malcolm and my son. Now you ask me to bring you in and these two strangers?
I'm asking you to make a distraction. I brought them here to get more information out of them because I don't know what's going on. They're the only people that have gone toe to toe with these things, and I mean, I was able to get one to walk off of a building, but two more came after me. I'm not a fighter, you know that. You know what I can do. I mean, I can move fast, but I can't seem to outrun these guys.
Very well, let us wait for them then.
Gephardt, I'm really sorry. I didn't want to involve you in this way.
You will fulfill your promise to me, Flicker, and we will be even.
You know I don't do this to get even with you. You know that I want to genuinely help you find who murdered your family. You know that's important to me, right?
I believe you.
Okay. All right, and at that moment, we'll cut to Flora and JP walking down the street in the old quarter, and for some reason, wherever you park your car or the cab that you get out of or whatever, you step out, and in the old quarter, it's just really dead. It's really quiet and eerie. There's a couple of other houses in the neighborhood around, sort of generally around this derelict building, but there's no activity on the streets, and the fog just kind of is blowing through, and there's that cold air as the two of you kind of arrive at the gate that stands in front of this dilapidated building, this Victorian dilapidated building.
But before we go in,
Sure.
JP is gonna say to Flora, he's gonna say, creepy. I mean, Flora. Just so you know, I've been doing a lot of the stuff you saw me do, and if I do any more tonight, I mean, things might get a little weird. Like, not like you weird, but I'm just saying, might get a little weird.
There are multiple of you running around naked, distracting a man who we couldn't kill. How much weirder do you think that this is going to get?
That's a pretty good point. I mean, like, looks wise.
Keep your pants on and we'll be okay. After you.
Yeah, JP will walk inside.
And so, Gephardt, how do you find yourself in waiting for these other individuals to kind of show up? Like, are you back to whittling?
Yeah, he's always, whittling or working with something. But he's by a window now, one that would face, the graveyard or the nearest alley, intermittently catching a glimpse of his son as his son is kind of moving closer and closer and closer, getting in position outside of the structure he's now in.
Okay. And so when the two of you walk in, you see a young woman kind of sitting in the corner that catches your eye first. And it's only then after you enter and kind of realize, or you kind of enter the house proper, that you notice that there is an older gentleman. Or, well, how old is Gephardt? In his 40s?
Gephardt looks like he could be anywhere from 47 to 53. Depends.
So a gentleman just approaching middle age, kind of sitting off to the side, looking out the window occasionally.
Is this who we're supposed to be meeting, Flora?
Do you remember a conversation where I showed you the same message and didn't know who it was from? She's gonna like just, you know how you like massage someone's shoulder, but you like dig your thumb in and you're just like, you're being real dumb right now. She's like, do you remember the talk we just had? And she's gonna really quickly just pat him on the back.
And so as that conversation happens, oh, you're here. And for a second, the woman looks up and she's like, okay. And then there's a sort of this weird kind of blur. And then she's like closer to you. Hi. And she extends her hand. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to I need information from you and I need your help. My name's Flicker. And she reaches out her hand.
She's going to pull her glove on a little bit and just check it again and shake the woman's hand. Flora.
Flora, okay.
I'm JP.
And JP, nice to meet you.
You're wondering about the girl.
My friend. I know who the girl is. And listen, and let me show you something first. And she pulls up the video feed on her phone and shows it to you. I know who that is. I'm interested in what was going on with that, but I want to know how did you stop these two guys?
Let's just say I have friends in high places. And what did you call me, JP?
Creepy lady?
Creepy lady. We'll stick to that.
I guess you could call what I did distracting them?
Just
If
okay.
you zoom in on the video, and she's just going to do like the spread on the naked clones, distracting them.
All right.
They're not supposed to be naked. That was an accident.
Oh. All right. Did you get any more information? Do you know who they are?
No, they wouldn't speak to me.
Do you know why they were trying to take Megan?
No, she did not want to be rescued, so we left her alone once she left the car. She didn't want to be saved. I do know that when I burned them, as his skin was rotting away, I smelled metal.
And you see,
normal person.
You see Flicker's face kind of distort a little bit, as like that's kind of gross.
Sorry.
You burned. Maybe she's a little uncomfortable when you say all that. Okay. And did you get any type of reason why they were trying to take Megan away?
No. They said it was none of our business. Clearly it was. Clearly they were hurting her. She just starts mumbling about these pricks.
Well, listen, Flora, I don't know if you know. Megan can take care of herself. At least that's what I thought.
That's what I thought as well. But I saw a woman being yelled at by a man, mistreated. They walked in the alley. She was not agreeable. And they pushed her in a car. And we acted. That's
honestly, I'm really starting to regret that I did anything at all.
Why is that?
I'm confused and everything's kind of going all weird. I mean, like I'm kind of weird. You saw the thing, but this is really weird.
Naked clones is kind of weird. I mean,
I told you they're not supposed to be naked.
But they were. Imagine if you were next to a school, man. Come on.
Can you do that with somebody else's? I mean, can you make clones of other people or just you?
Well, I don't think I can make clones of other people, but I can be other people.
And she looks to Geppetto. This might help too. This is weird, but I don't know if I need. I'm gonna need your toy, but this might help too. but I just don't know how to.
Ma'am, could you please fill us in?
I honestly asked you here for information. I'm desperate. These
We're clearly better than just information.
No.
We could be of use if it's to help her.
Well, how about helping me first? They're after me too.
Okay, then please give us information. It's been a long night, ma'am.
Well, so I have peculiar talents that allow me to acquire information, and I help people. I'm currently here helping this gentleman, and she clearly is not telling you his name yet. And
if I look at him, I would recognize him as a police officer when he was wanted, correct? As someone, we can't hear you.
He would be a city worker.
Okay, so I wouldn't recognize him.
You absolutely would. In your line of work, you would have absolutely recognized him as Gepard Caparelli, accused and convicted murderer of his family.
She's going to put a hand up to the woman for a moment and pull up a chair slowly and sit in front of him as a detective would, sitting backwards. And she just leans her face on the back of the chair. Remarkable.
He continues to work on whatever it is he's creating behind the shield of his hands.
How did you get out?
I have one quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Was JP honest when he said he regretted what had happened, or was he saying that because he's supposed to say that? This is a chance for him to use his power. So at his core, does he truly believe that? Does he truly regret his decision? Or is that just something he tells himself to accept what's happened tonight?
That's a good question. So I think it's more the latter, right? Like, he wants to pretend that he wishes that he just wasn't involved, but he's also like really proud kind of guy. So he like secretly is like kind of excited that he's involved, and kind of likes being a little bit the center of the attention here.
Okay. Yeah, that's all Gephardt needed. Yeah, if he would have read that as false when you said it, not that you were deliberately lying, but that your words weren't true, that would have pinged on him. So that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure before we went on. He turns his attention back to Flora.
Do you mind if I ask you something?
Not at all.
See, in my line of work, I do a lot of digging through information, bodies, really all types of media. But they never let me speak to the suspects.
You have his attention as you see him visibly lean forward, and he stops whatever he's doing behind his hands at the suggestion that you have information about bodies and things of that nature. Go on.
This is a little presumptuous, but I'm not one for talking around a point. Did you do it?
No.
I knew it. I went through those reports 3 times. No one ever fucking listens to me up there. I read your... Sorry, I do that. I read your file. I was the one who... I'm sorry for your loss.
Who are you? What do you do?
Anything involving the dead, involving righting wrongs, clearly not in this case. I am a coroner, and I try my hand at morgue work and other things of the sort. I guess you could say I'm a police officer, but I'm really not. I take care of the dead, and I try to find out who has wronged them. Clearly not you. I know that, and you know that.
As you are talking to Gephardt, you notice that his left eye, which just in naked conversation, you can tell is a different color than his right. But as you're talking, it starts to glow brighter and brighter. It's not emitting a beam of any kind. It's just glowing inside the ocular cavity. And if you look close enough, you can see what looks like a silhouette pacing back and forth across this glowing sphere. And if you look really close, you can see arms that are, gesticulating and seem to be very upset. And you see Gephardt begin to shake for a moment, and after a bit, the eye returns to a normal, non-illuminated state.
You would notice her tipping the chair closer and closer, trying to look, because she studies people to a T. That's what she is trained to do. She's trained to see the detail. So she's leaning as close as she can without falling over on this chair towards your face.
And as you're leaning in, Flicker kind of steps in and puts her hand on Gephardt's shoulder and says, "You need to be careful. You're showing. You need to be careful."
She'll tilt the chair back.
No, listen, I don't mean to break this up. I understand he's fascinating, but there's a real problem here. And Malcolm, what's going on for you as you're kind of listening into all of this?
So as all of this happens, lights flash in the front of the house, and they are the classic red-blue wigwams of a police car, and you hear,
"Everyone inside the house, you are completely surrounded. Flicker, come outside. We know it's you. Mr. G, also come outside. We know you're in there. Scary lady and that one guy, you can come out too. We're completely surrounded. Everybody get outside."
and then as soon as he hears anyone make a noise, he kind of runs down the stairs and says, "Ha! I got all you guys. That was awesome. That was totally me. There's no one else here. I ran over here. That wasn't even close. That was a good map, Mr. G. Hey."
And you
No one else is
see
laughing.
a shocked look from Flicker, looking at you like, "What the hell do you think you're doing?"
Yeah, JP, when all that was happening, stood into a fighting stance, and then realizes what he's doing, and is kind of hoping no one noticed that he fell for this.
Flora doesn't, her eyes don't leave Mr. G.
How come
Just staring at him.
Hey, this was
Yeah, I was going to say he's still staring right at Flora, too.
way funnier in my head, and no one else is laughing. Okay. Read the room. All right.
Errand boy?
Hey, lady.
Friend.
Hey! The the lady.
And Flicker pulls her backpack off, reaches in, grabs a candy bar, and hands it to Malcolm. "Now, shut up.
Oh.
This is important." And she puts her backpack on.
Mm-hmm.
Now listen.
Mm-hmm.
Without looking, Gephardt reaches over, takes the candy bar, breaks it in half, gives him back the part he was eating, and puts the other half in his pocket.
This is the worst treasure map ever.
What do you mean you can help me? And she looks to Flora. What do you know? I mean, you just told me you don't know anything about it. What are you going to do? Protect me? I can move. I just need a distraction, and that's what, as Malcolm said, Mr. G here.
That's true. She moves a lot, and she moves fast, and she does she talks a lot.
Malcolm, we'll play tag later, okay?
Yes.
Not right now.
What you saw tonight was me strolling home on a weeknight after a night out. That was nothing.
You see that one guy punch the car?
That was him.
That was
Without
cool.
moving her eyes from Mr. G.
That was awesome. You would punch the whole car.
she distracts Malcolm with the video of it as she, Flicker just kind of puts the video in front of him and hands him the phone. Now, listen,
I want to clear this man's name. Whatever you need, done.
And she looks to Gephardt. You buying this?
Gephardt breaks eye contact with Flora as soon as she says that, and it rings true in his mind. And he looks at Flicker. I do.
I
hope
looks at you.
Charger for that phone because it'll be dead.
And she's looking at Gephardt. This is strange. I'm sorry. I did not know that this was going to happen. I know this sounds like a good thing, but we don't even know this woman. I needed some information.
JP, come here for a moment, please.
Yep. All right.
Break my arm.
What? Whoa! What's going on here?
Are you sure?
Mr. G, it will not harm me. Am I telling the truth?
She is.
So, JP just kind of shrugs, and he grabs her arm with one hand and then brings his elbow down, and snaps her arm. I think actually as he exerts his strength for uses his powers for what's the fourth time tonight, his eyes change color. He normally has just dark brown eyes, but they flash and begin to burn with this kind of fiery rose gold color that lights up the room a little bit.
Gephardt immediately shies away from that.
And
sorry,
Flicker kind of looks at this all, and then she looks outside as she sees something out the window. She's like, "Shit!" And she moves to the window. And Gephardt, you just kind of follow her gaze because you're sitting next to a window as well. You look out, and you see 4 individuals sort of standing outside. And given an opportunity to kind of stare at them just for a second, you see that they are 4 individuals that look exactly the same.
You see Flora.
They all have the same gray outfit, and they're all wearing the same scowling expression and look very, very similar to each other. And we see Flora.
You see Flora snap her arm back into place as she's just starting to hear it, as she's just kind of adjusting it. I guess the demonstration's over. JP, do you mind? No, she's fast. You take Mr. G. Do the thing you did. Get them out of here. Kid, can you run?
Yeah.
Well, are you going to lose in our game of tag?
No, because you're old.
Well, I'm it. Go. And she's going to start moving out the back and try to get away with Malcolm.
Before Malcolm leaves, Gephardt reaches into his pocket and pulls out the other half of the candy bar, and he hands it to him. And he also hands him the bird that delivered him the message, and touches it, and it begins to flap and sits on his shoulder.
Yes,
and
I got a pirate bird.
For a moment, he smiles at the younger man and turns around and says, I can take care of myself. My son will be along.
And so as Flora heads out back with Malcolm, you open the door, and there's 2 more standing back there, and their eyes are glowing red. And that's where we're going to end it.
Sweet deal. Awesome. First episode done. So we'll go around and introduce our cast and crew here, and then we'll go host a friend of ours who is currently streaming some Dungeons and or Dragons. So we'll start in the same order we did things in, I think. Sam, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of the first episode of Metropolis?
So I'll go and I'm Sam.
He pulled a Greg when he was drinking that one night.
Fuck.
That one night.
Yeah. Twitch.tv/WizenedFool, Twitter TheWizenedFool. I am having a great time. I'm super excited to see where this goes. I love the idea of us slowly revealing our mythi as we progress. If you guys out there have ideas of who all we are, I say throw it in the Discord. I don't know if we'll be able to confirm or deny, but it's always fun to speculate. And I'm always doing stuff all over Twitch. So if you follow me on Twitter, I always retweet, and I play in a bunch of games and stuff.
Sweet deal. We'll jump over to Miss Ginger Ninja. Who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of your first episode of Metropolis?
I am Xmas Ginger Ninja. I run a streaming and sometimes a tabletop channel. Actually, our last episode is this Saturday with Wizened Fool DMing, so that should be interesting. A Blaze in the Dark. Tonight was awesome. I'm really excited that I get to be really gross and gory because, I've been watching a lot of zombie movies, and I've been watching a lot of like really gross documentaries about different types of acids. So, ooh, guys, it's gonna get real gross in here. If you thought that was something, it's gonna get way worse.
I played the wrong game.
I want to call him Daddy G, but also I don't want to be creeped out every time I say it.
You should be. Speaking of which, Daddy G, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of your first episode of Metropolis?
Greg, Grimjack21502 on the Twitches and the Twitters. I really enjoyed it. I like the entire setup for the city. I like the whole aspect of there being a tinsel town to an old quarter, and everything seems to be distinct and kind of separate, yet part of this whole working organic body. Love it. I like meeting the characters. The NPCs are great. I love the PCs. I love everybody's character so much. I have to tip my hat to Mal because Malcolm's character is hilarious, dude. It's absolutely the best. I mean, the cop thing was, it's gonna trying to keep a straight face as Gephardt's gonna be interesting going forward. But yeah. I had a blast. I can't wait to get into it a little bit more and see exactly what some superheroes can do whenever they're faced with a dire need.
Yeah, I wanted to play something completely different from my last character in 6&20, and I figured with the theme of the game, this would be an interesting character to play, and those of you who have seen his mysteries understand that there are some weird mysteries going on, but at his essence, he is a jokey trickster kid, so I figured why the hell not play up that to its maximum potential.
So what is the difference between you and this particular character?
Nothing. Very little. Very little.
Okay, just making sure. I wanted to confirm that because there was also the same case with Nick. So.
Yeah, very little.
Of age.
These, yeah, that's the difference.
He can drink. He can get into clubs.
Yeah, Nix and Malcolm are two sides of the same coin, for sure. And thank you for letting me play those coins. And speaking of that, Johnny, who are you? What are you doing here? And what did you think of the first episode over here of Metropolis?
So Johnny, Video Store Cowboy, run the Video Store Cowboy channel, GM for 6&20. As I'm sure Mike will also reaffirm as well, we do this across 3 channels. So this was night 2 of the premiere of our premiere week of this. What did I think? I have to say that every character that has been introduced into this shared setting so far has been surprising. We learned some really interesting things about the characters last night we spent a fair bit of time doing some of the character creation stuff, and there were lots of conversations going on in the back scenes, but the things were revealed, last night and tonight that I had no idea about these characters. And I love that the setting kind of brings out, these elements in it, and you all just kind of stepped up so far. I'm looking forward to discovering who the characters are tomorrow night when we play the third night of this crazy thing that we're doing. I have to say kudos. I love JP. I think he is a fresh and unique character in this particular thing because he's not innocent, but he's a do-gooder in a lot of ways, and that's clearly coming across. I love that. No, I don't want to be grossed out. Please do not provide any more acid or any more zombie descriptions. I'm going to keep the fucking puke bucket right next to me because I'm
Just don't mute yourself. I'll use it for when I'm going on about other people throwing up because they see their friend's skin coming off. I'll use it.
And the Malcolm Gephardt thing came up together as a last minute, and it fucking got played off beautifully in here. So I think both you guys fucking did amazing. So good job tonight, guys. And I'm looking forward to where this thing goes.
Sweet. So we are out of here for tonight. We're going to go raid our buddy McLocan. You can actually see him streaming right now, playing some D&D. He'll be on tomorrow's show as well over on Not So Speedruns. Tomorrow we're playing some our homebrew game, Havoc and Hinterlands. Come check that out at 7 o'clock. And this Saturday is our 12-hour community day where I get shit-faced because you guys are horrible people and want that to happen to me. And we play games like PUBG because... see previous answer. Go jump in that raid and show him all that hot sticky raid love. And from all of us to you guys, bye bye.